Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Friday morning. Well, the NCAA tournament is underway. It's mostly favorites. You get an upset here and there, but really not much. Really, given the nature of the three-point shot and one 40-minute game and anything can happen, man, I think the selection committee's got to feel pretty good after day one. It's a long tournament. A lot of stuff can happen. But who they picked and where they've been seated, you can nitpick, but things pretty much went according to plan. Certainly in the games involving our two local schools, BYU, a 6 seed, was supposed to beat the 11 seed, and they did. 10th seed of Utah State was supposed to lose to UCLA, and they did. Utah State didn't compete. They got beat by 25. It was weird how similar the games were. You get about 15 minutes in or so, late first half. BYU's tied at 25 with VCU. And at about the same point in the game later that night, Utah State trailed UCLA 27-25. And then BYU and UCLA went on runs to end the first half, stretched out in the second half. Across halftime, BYU went on a run of 30-10. And UCLA went on a run of 32-11. Parallels were freakish, and they both win comfortably. BYU wins comfortably. UCLA wins in a total blowout. So Utah State drops 4 of their last 6 games, all blowouts, all decisive. And now we'll see where they go. We'll see what West Virginia does with their coaching search, as we talked earlier yesterday. I think Calhoun should certainly be in the final group, but you never really know, Is the AD making the hire? Is the president? Is there a powerful person on the board of regents? Who the heck knows? But Calhoun's definitely got the resume. He's also got a contract extension in front of him from Utah State, so he can stay with more money and come back for another year and see where it goes. The thing about that game is that Ian Martin is just nothing. They just got nothing out of him. And when your leading scorer does that, you're in trouble. Falslip had a good game. Falslip was filling it up, and he was attacking the hoop. And, man, they missed so many threes. 15 in a row to end the half, 18 in a row. Man, you just can't win shooting like that. Who did win is the Utah Hockey Club. They need to beat the Buffalo Sabres. Sabres have the worst record in the East, but they did come in hot. They'd won 3 of their last 4. But it didn't matter. Utah Hockey Club gets a 5-2 win. Adrian Denny wraps it up on the postgame show.
DJ and PK, the Utah Hockey Club picked up a 5-2 victory against the Buffalo Sabres on Thursday night at Delta Center to keep pace with that Western Conference wildcard race. Utah now 31-27-11 on the year as they haven't lost back-to-back games since January. Now 7-0-1 after a loss or an overtime loss, and that home ice at Delta Center starting to become a thing. 8-2-3 in their last 13 contests at home. Logan Cooley's second goal in 3 games as he extended his scoring streak to 3 in the first period. Got Utah on the board with his 19th of the year.
Schmaltz had the pass taken off his stick by McLeod. Now it's right in front for Schmaltz. Cooley scores! Utah pounces on a turnover, and they cash in with their top line. 1-0 Mountain Blue. Logan Cooley gets the goal.
Buffalo tied it up with a power play goal late in the first. Mikhail Sergachev answered off of a Jack McBain faceoff win, 11:50 into the second.
Shooting scores. Sergachev tosses one towards the net. Tons of traffic in front, and it finds its way past Reimer. 2-1. Sergachev lights the lamp here for Utah.
Then Buffalo, a shorthanded goal in the third, and we were back tied at 2 before Dylan Guenther's team-leading 25th and his 9th game-winning goal, which is second in the NHL, got Utah their lead back for good with 5:47 left to go in regulation.
Dylan Guenther flies in. One-timer from Carcone. Save Reimer. They score! Utah blows one past Buffalo, and the Mountain Blue take the lead. It's Dylan Guenther. Another clutch goal from number 11.
Utah now 18-0-1 when Guenther scores a goal this year. Empty netters from Stenlund and Sergachev give you your final. Karel Vejmelka picks up his 20th win of the year. That's a new career high for him. He stopped 25 at 27. Utah outshot Buffalo 3-0 5-on-5. Let's hear from the hero. Let's hear from Dylan Gunther after Thursday night's victory.
I mean, yeah, I guess kind of an open net, but nice play by Carts. Seen pass, and I saw him in the slot, and sometimes, when you have chances that don't go in, you get greasy ones.
As far as the tone that this sets for the homestand, what kind of game? I mean, obviously every point matters, but what kind of tone does this set?
It's good. I think I don't even think we really played our best out there. We found a way to win, so that's the main thing, and just make sure we're ready for the next one. 9th game winner for you this year. Do you feel like you almost raise your game when it's third period and games are close? Like, where does that stat kind of come from for you? Yeah, I think, that's pretty cool. Maybe a bit of a coincidence, too, like just getting lucky on some of them. But, those are the time of game that you want to play in. Those are the fun times, so... it's nice to be recognized there. With Carconi on that line tonight, what do you like about him with you and Barrett? Yeah, he's super fast. We played together just before the break, and we had some success. So I think we just have to play a little bit simpler, use our speed, get it behind them a little bit more, and don't allow them to transition on us off our turnovers.
Why do you think you guys have been struggling with the power play lately?
I don't know. I think that there's kinks that you got to work out, and this happens. It's just this time of the season, the power play is important, so we got to make sure that we figure it out.
Do you like playing in these grinded out games? Or does it always need to be a blowout for you?
No, I think you learn a lot when you play in the close games. Whether you win or lose, and we want to win all the games we can, but. These close ones, when we're learning how to close teams out and how to play 5-on-6 is important for us. Coach was saying on the road trip, maybe you guys overlooked every other game other than Vancouver. How important was it to come in tonight and take the opponent for what they were? Yeah, I think it gets a little bit of confidence back. That's a tough ending on the other one, and it's just one game. That's kind of the beauty of us is we have to play a lot, but just make sure that we got back on track, and I thought that that was a step in the right direction.
He has 3 points over the last 3 games. Just curious, does it feel like he's regained his confidence?
He's a really good player. He's going to produce a lot of points in the league for a long time. So, sometimes you don't get points for a couple of games. That's just what happens. But, he's a big part of our team down the stretch here.
Do you miss him in the second line?
I love playing with him. I think that our all 4 lines are, like Banner's line's playing really well, and so is Stenny's. So if we can come with 4 lines and bring that wave, I think that's one of our strengths.
Everybody talks about one game at a time, but there's a lot you cannot control in this playoff push, right?
Ben and St. Louis went to overtime. It's not ideal. So just focus on us, and we got to get as many points as we can.
Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll get Coach in the room.
All right, man. See you on.
All 4 forward lines got a goal for Utah in the contest on Thursday night. Matias Michelli, who was the 3rd leading scorer in Arizona each of the last 2 years, but not in the lineup for 13 straight games for Utah, returns for the first time since February 8th. He was flying and was a big part of setting up that second goal, playing with Kevin Stelland and Alexander Kerfoot on a shift that led to that Jack McBain face-off win. Let's hear from head coach Andre Tourney after the game as well.
A few things about the game. Obviously, our power play is not clicking the way we want lately. I think there's a lot of overpassing the puck or not enough battle, and I think that's the reflect of our game. I think when our battle level, we win more lose puck battles. That's where our game is at its best, and I think in the second half of the game, and especially in the third period, we won more battles. We had a good period. We're scoring chance were 8-3 in the third period for us, so I think it's all related to our level of battle. I want to as well mention the performance of Stanley's line. I think they were really, really good, and I think Chelly coming back from the lineup did an outstanding job, and so is Kasaring on the back end who did a really good job. So that's my first thoughts on the game.
Sergachev also mentioned the power play, and he said that you needed to simplify it. What's the process of simplifying it at this point?
You need to win battles. Every time there's a battle, there's a clearing, a breakaway, a scoring chance. If you don't, at the end of the day, they will be in the inside. So we need to get there and win some battles, and that break the play for the next one. But when you play hockey and you don't win battles, but then you cannot make any mistake. Hockey is a game of mistakes. So we need to raise our intensity in the power play, win more battles, support quicker, win loose puck, win traveling puck, those kind of thing. And we don't do it right now. We're waiting for an opportunity. I think we need to put our hard hat and working boots, get in there.
9 game-winning goals for Dylan Gunther this season. How have you seen him embrace the big moments of the game throughout the year?
Yeah, I think I talked about it last week. He's a guy who wants those moments and doesn't change his game basically when he arrives in those moments. The pressure doesn't faze him, so that is good. But needs to be more than a goal scorer. He needs to be. As a team, as a group, we need to be better than we were today in our battles.
The last couple of games, there's been a lot of odd man rushes. Do you see that as the defenseman being too eager in pinching, or what is it?
No, it's our execution with the puck. I think it's a good point you bring, but since March 1st, we're not as stingy as we used to be defensively, and we get away with murder here and there, but that won't last. So we need to tied it up, win more battles, get on the right side of the puck on dirty puck, and those kind of things. But I think we're well aware. I think it was a huge game for us today, and we found a way to win the game. We found a way to score a big goal at key moments, even if our special teams, which been really good for us, they were not tonight. So it is what it is. We found a way to win big games. We had traffic at the net. So that was a huge win. So now we have a different animal who's coming here on the weekend, so we'll need to be ready.
So Utah keeps pace in that Western Conference wildcard, still 4 points back, but now 4 points in back is St. Louis, who beat Vancouver 4-3 in overtime in a wild one from the Show Me State on Thursday. Calgary also erased a 2-0 and a 3-1 deficit in the third period in New Jersey. They beat the Devils 5-3. So the standings now look like this. St. Louis with 77 points, Vancouver 76, Calgary 75, Utah 73. But St. Louis has played one more game than both Vancouver and Utah, 2 more games than Calgary. Back in action on Saturday afternoon. It'll be a 2 p.m. edition of Hockey Night in Utah. Puck will drop at 3. Utah, the first ever visit from the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first of 2 meetings over the next week between these 2 teams. Utah will be in Tampa coming up next Friday.
There's Adrian Denny with the best of the post-game show. Coming up, you're going to hear spring practice is underway at the U. It's been going at the Y for a while. You'll hear from both head coaches, Kyle Whittingham and Kalani Sitake. And then we will hear from KY, Kevin Young, and BYU players after their first-round victory. That's all coming up. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. We are proudly presented by Black Desert Resort, our title sponsor and Utah's premier golf resort. All right, it's time to talk a little football now. Spring football has been going at the Y for a while. Here is head coach Kalani Sitake.
Kalani, you guys scrimmaged today, so just want your overall assessment of how things went.
Yeah, I thought it was back and forth. I mean, offense had its moments and defense had their moments, so kind of balanced in the overall performance. I think we had 90 plays or so, so that was good. We were able to see some guys compete. That was the main thing. Wanted to kind of get used to the overall feeling of a game with refs and getting the calls in from the booth. So just doing like a game with the headphones and all that stuff and with getting the signals. I thought the guys did a great job. Honestly, I think we're further ahead than we've been. That being said, there's still some room for improvement, but I really like the way the guys are working together, the team, the players, the coaches. We feel like it's going really, really nicely for us. I'm obviously going to grade the film and see how they perform, but just the overall, I thought it was good on both sides, on offense and defense, and some guys are really stepping up. You can see how comfortable people are getting with the scheme on both sides, and how comfortable they're getting just with the overall experience of playing and having that, having all that time on in game time. I mean, a guy like Keelan Marion, he's crazy. It's the steps that he's made becoming a veteran, and Raider Dumwooni and Bruce Mitchell, all those guys are guys that have started before, and some of them just maybe a few games in the season have really stepped up, and this is a way different spring than I've seen from them, so that's a good sign.
When it comes to scrimmages in the spring, are they mainly for you guys to evaluate younger players or is it across the board?
I think it's a mixture of all of it, because we do have an idea of what our ones will be, who's competing for those spots. And so you have all these small competitions happening. I think the key is to get everyone bought in to the team, the vision, the goals that we want to accomplish as a team. And when you get that going, then you allow them to compete for their starting spots to compete for plays. What we're starting to realize is that we have a really good deep team. It's just a matter of who's going to be taking the first snaps. It comes down to them. But having them just bought into what we're trying to accomplish as a team, that's the key. And a lot of that has to do with the leadership that we're seeing from the players. And the upperclassmen leadership is amazing. I'm really liking the way they're taking ownership of this team and the way they're holding each other accountable. It's really nice.
Kalani, you noted there were moments on both sides. Could you share some of the moments that stood out before you break down the film? Like what moments kind of really caught your attention as you were watching that unfold?
Well, I'm always looking at things like the penalties and discipline things. So we didn't have a lot of issues with false starts and things like that. We had a couple penalties that way, had a couple holding on offense. Overall, four penalties on offense and one on defense. So, and I like that we were able to understand the game, the situation. We did some red zone and we were just able to work a lot of different, when we were able to march the ball down and convert third downs, things like that. Went for it on some fourth downs and put our defense and our offense in those situations. And so I think it was give and take. Overall, I think we've been into these sometimes where it's just one side wins the day, and that's always frustrating. But at the same time, you know where your deficiencies are. You can make up the difference. I think this is probably more. I mean, if I'm looking at it, it's balanced out, and so that should be a good sign for us, especially with the amount of snaps that we got and the guys that were out there on the field.
How was the scrimmage structured for the backup quarterbacks with Hillstead and Bourget? Was it evenly distributed with second team? How was that structured in your assessment of those guys today?
Yeah, that was evenly distributed with those with Bourget and Hillstead. Those guys got all the work with the twos and with the threes, and then Jake took all the reps with the ones. And so, and then we obviously we want to see some different lineups with running backs and receivers, and so I really feel good about where we're at with 1.5 of our depth. So with a lot of our ones and probably half of our twos, we just need to make that get to 2.5 by the time we end spring, and I think we're getting there closely. I mean, I think it's a tough ask, but I've seen a lot of really good things from the coaches, and that's we got to keep building on it. The one thing I do like is that nobody's satisfied with what we did last year. I think this is kind of another jump, and everyone's demanding more from each other, and it's nice when the players are saying it, not the coaches.
Okay, go ahead, Jared, followed by Jay.
I kind of wanted to follow up on what you were saying about the leadership, Kalani. I know you've talked for a long time about how the best teams are player-run, have the player-run leadership and the emphasis there, but it seems to be getting, just from reading between the lines, more and more self-perpetuating. The coaches don't need to emphasize, that this is a player-run team. The players are doing that, and as the seniors leave, like a Tyler or those guys, the next group's ready to step into those. I just wonder what's that been like, seeing that process become more organic and maybe have to do less of it, as a coaching staff.
I honestly give a lot of credit to the guys that were leaders that left. So like you mentioned, Tyler Batty and Connor Pay, those guys had done an amazing job passing the baton and really putting guys like Bruce Mitchell and all the other players on the O-line. Connor did a great job of getting all those guys ready. You can look at everyone that actually started games for us and played. Those guys have all been our leaders. And so the freshmen that are coming in and the newcomers are actually adapting really, really well to it. And I mean, they're a great fit for our program anyways. And so a guy like Gentry's coming in here, and it's like, it almost feels like he's been here for a long time. And that's when culturally something really good is happening. And we've had it before in different positions. It feels like it's more team-wide now. And I mean, I say that with a little bit of hesitation because it's never perfect, but I give a lot of credit to the seniors that have moved on. Tyler Batty and Jacob Robinson on defense. Those guys have done a great job at demanding a lot. Blake Mangelson and John Nelson. Those guys did a really good job. Darius Lasser on offense. And you could see the impact that they've had. But not just them being the leaders. They've actually taught the other guys to be leaders and have actually taken a step back and not been so. It's not been about them. They've given their teammates an opportunity to lead, even in the season. It's carried over to this off season and spring ball.
I don't know if you heard me ask Raider this, Kalani, but it's interesting to me for those people that have been longtime BYU fans and families that have been involved with the program, that BYU is kind of back where they expect it to be. The expectations are high. They expect to go into a season with some buzz, a chance to really shine and have some spotlight on going into the year. I know you don't want to get carried away with that because it can be poisonous and guys can get kind of caught up in that. But at the same point, is it fun to have BYU back in that in that spotlight role going into this season?
Well, I think the key is keep things real. I mean, you're not going to be able to just fake your way through it. And so we know what we were able to accomplish last year. This time last year, we were in a different feeling, and we knew that. So we were very real with it. So the situation now, you can't go back and recreate what last year did for you. We're in a different position, but you have to stay humble and you have to be able to work. I know one thing that's very common is that you're going to have to work regardless of what your attitude is. And if you're trying to prove something or if you're trying to stay on top, all of it comes down to work. And so these guys are willing to work. We're going to be fine. They're putting in the work, but the key is we just got to stay humble, and that can go to coaches too. We all need to keep being humble. We need to focus on doing things the right way, and even the simple things. You just can't take anything for granted. And I think as long as we keep that going and we're able to hold each other accountable, and that we have to set the example as coaches. And if we want humble players, that we got to be humble ourselves and always find ways to get better. You can't just be happy with what you've accomplished. And honestly, we haven't accomplished much at all. We still have things to go and see things to do and things to accomplish.
Kalani, Mitch asked about the backup quarterbacks, but was there any separation in your mind between those two? And also, does the dynamic change that you have a kind of a clear-cut starter this spring as opposed to last spring?
I think it has to change, right, Jay? I mean, you're looking at who's going to be able to replace. When you're looking at the reps, who's going to be able to get the valuable reps with the twos? Right now, we have a situation where we can kind of keep it balanced, but eventually we're going to have to pick one that's going to give us a chance to replace, and if anything happens to Jake. And so that's we're still working through that. But I think you look at it, the entirety of the spring ball and all 15 practices can't just be on one scrimmage or one practice. But we were seeing them consistently get better, so it's hard when everyone's getting better. But I do know one thing. We have an opportunity with our quarterbacks where we can actually give them a plan on helping us win. And so whatever the role can be, I think we can change some things and maybe help if something does happen, we can probably do it by committee if we need to. The truth will come down to who's going to get the valuable backup reps when we get to fall camp, because that's going to be the guy that's going to step in the game. I think you can always have a package for the third string guy if you need, but that's what the competition is going to be. It's going to carry into fall camp, but probably will have to be settled really, really quickly. And if we feel like there's a clear winner out of spring, then we'll get that done too.
All right. Looks like we have a little time for a few follow-ups. Jake, and then Mitch.
Yeah, Kalani, you've talked about with your running backs, putting them in different formations, different tandems, that type of stuff. Is it mainly guys outside of LJ Martin, or is LJ part of that as well?
Yeah, LJ is a big part of that. I mean, he's our starter, but having guys like Sonnemois, I don't think a lot of people realize the athleticism that we have in a running back position. And you look at a guy like Harvey, when he played, he was able to run the ball, but he could catch the ball in the backfield too. And we have guys that kind of change up guys like Pokai, who's had a lot of experience playing wide out in high school. So we have guys that can do a lot of different things. You look at the athleticism that we have with Parker Kingston and Keelan Marion and others in the position group with the receivers. We have a very similar thing in the running back. So I'm really excited about that group. But right now, we still got guys like Jovessa who are still young that haven't really done anything on the field, but like we see the potential that's there with that entire running back group, and I'm really excited about it. I think that Harvey and A-Rod are doing a good job at mixing it up and getting these guys different looks. They're also phenomenal blockers too, so they can run block, pass pro, and they can run routes. So I think Harvey's working on making them all complete backs, and I feel really good about the progress that they're making.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, Kalani, I wanted to ask, year two with Big 12 Pro Day, after the first year, did it provide the players in the league the increased exposure that maybe the league was looking for? And just your thoughts on this year's class of guys that are going to be competing this week in Texas.
We've had a lot of conversations with the NFL personnel on all our guys. And so we know our guys are getting workouts and things like that. The Pro Day, I kind of miss having the Pro Day here, just so I can see our guys perform. But I think having them go through it and having, I think it's a good idea with the Big 12, what they're doing. Whatever we can do to give our guys more, have more eyeballs on them, I'm all for it. And so luckily for this group of young men that are going out this year and eligible for the draft, I think they're getting a lot of exposure, and then a lot of that's coming through the workouts and the interviews and the visits. And then we've had, myself and coaches on our staff have had a large number of interviews and phone calls just to check on our guys. And I think I'm excited about what our guys can get done. Hopefully they get the opportunities, but I feel good about them. I think the NFL needs BYU guys, so hopefully they can make squads and get out there. And I know that the NFL is doing their homework because we've been in contact and communications with them more now than ever before.
All right, last question comes from Jared.
Kalani, I just wanted to ask kind of a big picture question. I was thinking about the roster, looking over the roster, and how there's a lot of names on there that maybe we don't talk about a ton. We get, obviously there's positions that get a lot of attention, but how valuable are the guys, particularly those that have stuck it out for multiple years and maybe they don't get a lot of publicity, but they come in and do their role, particularly in camp and in practice and things like that. I just wonder how much value those guys have, even though maybe they don't get featured like some of the other guys.
Yeah, that's the role players that don't get a lot of attention. You have to look at why we're having a lot of success with our special teams. Those are the unsung heroes that don't get a lot of credit. I know a lot goes to the person that's kicking the field goal or the person that's returning the kick and things like that. But the other 10 guys are doing some work too, and then the scout teams are doing some work too. So this is an iron sharpens iron type of team where we know that there's some guys that are going to get. You have to know that the quarterback's going to get way more attention than the backup linebacker. But the backup linebacker has a role that he can really be proud of, and you may not get a lot of attention, but some of them will, and there was a time that Isaiah Glasker was that guy, and so you can see these guys starting to progress in their careers and get better and get more comfortable with being on the field and the scheme, and their time will come. But also being realistic that this is, we're okay. We need role. You asked me about the unsung heroes, the role players that were in the Super Bowl. How difference that made, how much of a difference that made for Philadelphia's O-line and D-line. And so we're hoping that our guys take ownership and pride in what they do. If they can be the best, if they can be at their best, I think we have a really good chance.
All right.
Then
go ahead.
Last thing, Kalani, I was just going to ask if you'd filled out your bracket yet, who you had going all the way.
No, I think I'm pretty sure I'm going to tell everybody Final Four is all Big 12. So here we go, and you already know who I'm saying is going to win the whole thing. 3 YU's got to get hot and then it's all going to work out. Don't worry. here we go. It's just the timing of it all. So it's about time we were getting ready to roll. I'm excited to watch it, though. Brackets only for fun. That's it. Bragging rights, that's all we do.
There's BYU football coach Kalani Sitake. The U has started now. Spring ball is underway there. Here's the head coach, Kyle Whittingham.
Coach, how was practice?
Eerily similar to the last 20 spring practices that I've been to, the last 20 years. But a little different this year in the respect that we got a new offense that we're putting in. But with the new rules, you have more opportunity to get players up to speed prior to spring ball starting. You know, we get walkthroughs and things like that we didn't used to be able to have. And so I thought for the first day, offense did a nice job relative to how much they have in. Still mistakes made, that need to be corrected. There always will be. But when you look at where we are, day one with a new offense, I think we handled it pretty well.
How much does Demin Dampier playing under Jason Beck last year? How much is that going to help?
Huge. That's huge. I mean, that to have Devin, who's completely versed in this offense and knows the intricacies of it, the ins and outs of it, is a big plus. Isaac Wilson's really done a nice job picking things up as well. He was looking good today as well.
We kind of talk about the identity of the offense. Obviously, new look, new coordinator, new quarterback, new running back even. Yep. What do you think the identity of this offense is going to be heading into next season?
Well, we'll see how it evolves, but, Devin Dampier, what he did last year. He put up some really good numbers, throwing the football, rushing the football, so it was a very prolific offense. Wayshawn Parker, he's a dynamic running back. We've got a very good offensive line, at least we think we do. We'll find out, but we think we got a solid front. Receivers, we've got to sort that out. That's probably the one position on offense that needs the most sorting out is the receiver spot. Tight end, Bentley is really the lead guy right now. In that respect, as far as the attached tight ends, and then Landon King's a guy that can do a lot of things in an H-back type of a role. But we'll see where it goes. I mean, obviously you want to play to the quarterback's strengths, which is what we'll do, and we know exactly what those are based on his production last year in this very offense.
Did you anticipate the OC and the new quarterback coming in as a package deal?
That's ideal. It was something that we hoped would happen, but it wasn't the top priority. But that was to have the OC and the quarterback coming from the same system is a bonus, and that really has accelerated things.
But it wasn't a surprise then?
No, not a surprise at all. In fact, if you look around the country, that happens quite often.
Across the country, teams are sort of preparing for the house settlement, revenue sharing, and so forth, and you've talked a lot about that. I'm curious on your perspective on the enforcement arm that, will be sort of policing deals inside the revenue share and third party. I mean, do you think it brings more hope? I'm curious on your perspective on that.
Well, I'm not really exactly sure. I don't think anybody's really positive the exact details and how it's going to go down. They're still, when is it, April 6th or 7th, somewhere in there is the final, expecting a final call on how it's structured, but it may get pushed back further than that. Who knows? But I think everyone's going to kind of wait and see how the enforcement goes and what's, how much teeth there is in it, and just what the whole situation is. I couldn't tell you right now.
With so many new players, it seems like the vibes and the culture seem a lot more upbeat and positive.
Yeah, a lot of juice and energy on the football team right now, and that was evident all throughout the winter conditioning that this team really has a lot of positive energy, and that's a good thing. I think the infusion of a bunch of new players, not that the old players were bad, but just guys that are new to the program and a new coaching staff that's got a lot of energy, and so I think that is very apparent that's a big difference from the last couple of years.
Obviously, it's still early, but how do you feel about the defensive tackle room?
D-tackle room is solid. We had a couple, one, Aliki Vimahi is the real veteran of the room, but Dallas Vakalahi played a lot of snaps for us last year. But beyond that, we're going to have a couple young guys step up and be contributors this year.
Easy decision to come back?
For me?
For you.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, easy decision.
Speaking of decisions to come back.
Okay.
One more, please. I was going to ask you about Alex Jensen and just your role in bringing him back.
Well, I don't, Alex and I had a conversation, but I'm excited about Alex being here and got all the respect in the world for him, what he did as a player, what he's done as a coach since he's been here, and I'm excited to see what he does with that program.
There's Utah football coach Kyle Whittingham. A reminder, join the Zone today live from the JCW's watch party in South Jordan from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Stop by and get a juicy burger, thick shake, and watch some games. Mention the Zone at the register and get 10% off your order during the event. That's JCW's 10660 South Riverfront Parkway in South Jordan. All right, DJ and PK. When we come back, we'll hear from the Cougars after their NCAA tournament win. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Well, the BYU Cougars get the win. They beat VCU. Game was tied at 25 late in the first half. BYU went on a run. They kept it going early in the second half. It turned out to be a 30-10 run across halftime. They opened up the 20-point lead, and they cruised to the victory. Here are the Cougars at the podium after the game.
Yeah, obviously just thrilled to get the win. You know, this time of year, you just, you hear it all the time, you want to survive and advance. So just obviously, where my head goes, we knew it was going to be a tough game, super well-coached team. I think they do a great job as a coaching staff over there. They made it tough on us. Wouldn't go away, obviously, at the end, but proud of our guys. We felt like we really wanted to key in on rebounding, not putting them on the line, and taking care of the ball. Those are the three keys for us coming into the game. And we won those three areas, and we felt like that was a huge part of the win. These guys, each one of them, was obviously a catalyst, and I thought Egor got us going to start the game. Richie's a guy that's always been consistent for us, and then I thought Foussenyi gave us a huge lift off the bench, scoring inside. And all in all, it was a really good team win, which has kind of been the calling card for our group all year. So with that, I'll open it.
Thank you, Coach. Take questions for the student-athletes first. Over here to your right, guys.
For you guys, that surge you had at the end of the first half, you were tied at 24, you get the lead to 11. It just seemed that you were in control the rest of the way. What was the key to that, getting the lead and keeping it?
I'll take this one. Our team is just, we're so deep. As you noticed, during that little run, a lot of the second unit, was right in there making it happen. And I love it because there's so many different tools that we can use as a team. And we were playing fast and sharing the ball, which is that's BYU basketball right there.
Go here.
Luke Evans, Denver Post. Egor, it's been you've had a lot of pressure placed on you ever since just arriving at BYU. Been kind of an up and down season just in terms of your shot. What did you want to kind of come out here on this stage and do and show for yourself and for this year and the rest of your career?
I think we've been talking about this so much inside of the team. Just coming here, nothing matters but the team, and we can scout as much as we want other teams. We can think about something, but at the end of the day, nothing matters. Matters how strong we get to the court and how much effort we give and how much we want to win. And in this tournament, I think I don't have much experience as these guys about March Madness, but I believe that wins the one who wants to win more.
Jackson Payne, Deseret News. Foos, as a senior, your last year in the program, how badly did you want to win this game? I mean, you fought like crazy, it looked like. So how much did it mean to you to get this win in your last year in the program?
Man, this actually mean everything to me, Me, especially all the senior, we just don't want to go down like that. Because every single game can be our last game, So we'll take it super personal and just no matter what, however it takes, we're just gonna go get it done, We just got one more down, now 5 more to go. Yep.
Go ahead.
Luke Maestas, Met TV. Foussenyi, what sort of things are you going to look for when you're facing Wisconsin?
Well, we really haven't talked about that. We were focusing on the game. I don't really know yet, but it's just the same thing we've been doing. Just focus on ourselves. Do what we do best. As a team. Just play for each other.
Mahir Sanhas, CB Review. Foos and Richie, you guys were on the court last year when you lost a similar situation where you guys were a 6 seed. How important or how rewarding was it for you guys to get the win today?
Just like Foos said, it was amazing, and just it means so much, right? We've had such up and downs this season, and like we're not ready to be done yet, and it's just it means so much that we were able to win and get to this point that we haven't done before, and we're eager to face this next challenge.
Right here.
Traore from the Denver Post. Any of you, it felt like it was a home game at times. Your crowd traveled well. What was that environment like for specifically the players? And I know Jimmer Fredette was here right behind your bench. You feel like this team could do something special like his group did in 2011?
Yeah, we definitely believe that, like this is a special team, and we really believe in each other, like it's just, what else you got, Richie?
Yeah, like 100%. We just rely on each other, and that shows. And again, we're not ready to be done. We're ready to keep moving forward. Yeah, 100%. We love it, but that happens to us all the time, and we don't take it for granted. But we love it. Everywhere we go, there's a lot of blue, and today was no exception. I got you.
Sean Walker from KSL in Salt Lake City. Richie, your little brother next to you, when you were watching him take over a little bit in the second half down the stretch, I can never remember if he's big brother or little brother. So little brother, right?
Depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, exactly. But when you were watching him take over down the stretch in the second half, just what was going through your mind, kind of seeing him play, seeing him just dominate, roll to the rim, all that stuff with Foos?
I love it. Like, it makes me just so hyped. Like, when he's doing well, when he's cooking down low, like it's so fun to watch and so fun to play with that. When you need a bucket, and Foos he's gotten I can't remember exactly the streak, but 2 or 3 in a row, and the ball is going right back to him, and his defender's scared, but he deserves every bucket. He's worked hard, and I'm just super happy.
Anything else for our student athletes? Okay, we'll let them go at this time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. See, great job, guys.
Questions for Coach Young? Over here.
Chris Thomas in Denver Gazette. Just wanted to follow up on that question. Jimmer Fredette and Danny Ainge are both right behind the bench. How cool was it to have them there, and what kind of things do they do to maybe help the program and the support they give?
Yeah, I mean, those guys are awesome. They love BYU. That's one thing I think that's super unique about BYU. There's so much passion from our fans, the alumni. It's something that I knew about just the fans, but I didn't factor in just all the alumni. So many good athletes that have been through BYU. Danny's a great resource. For me, I pick his brain often. Jimmer's a guy that reached out a second I got the job, and so to have that support from those types of guys is incredible. I saw some other guys. I think Taysom Hill was up there too. It's just the list goes on and on. But I definitely felt the crowd. To your question, I mean, that was one of the reasons I was happy that we got this draw to come here to Denver. I mean, like these guys said, there's a lot of blue everywhere we play, but tonight was special, and I'm glad that the guys put on a winning effort for all of our fans that were able to get here.
Right here.
Luke Evans, Denver Post. Kevin, you said yesterday you used to have nightmares kind of coming here and scheming against the Nuggets. Feel like you exercised that a little bit, today, and just for you, making the step to the college game. What's it mean to you to have a tournament win in your first year after taking this leap from the NBA?
Yeah, super rewarding, man. This tournament is like none other. It captivates America for good reason. So just super grateful to be a part of it. As it relates to this building and coming here, honestly, I was kind of, saying that kind of tongue in cheek, but in the same sort of breath, I do have just the comfort of the familiarity of being in the building. Even though they hurt us oftentimes, I still had a couple big wins in here. But just the familiarity for me actually was something that kind of was calming and soothing. But like I said, just really grateful to be a part of the tournament.
Over here.
Mike Kelly, Associated Press. Coach, you obviously weren't here last year, but could you feel the sense of urgency from these guys to not have what happened last year repeat this year?
I did. I absolutely did. And that was another thing that gave me a lot of kind of comfort as I was preparing for this. We were preparing for this. I pulled, a lot of those guys aside and just asked them, hey, are we missing anything? Are we hitting all the right things? And, they were definitely good sounding boards, for me being my first time through it. And that's something that we relied upon all year. I mean, honestly, go back to my first press conference when I took the job. I made the comment I was going to rely on the returners to navigate the Big 12, and now here we are navigating the NCAA tournament as well.
Over here.
Eric Prisbell, Hoops HQ. Kevin, how would you describe Egor's skill set, given his size, given his age, and how has it evolved over the course of the season?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't answer the question you asked about his shot selection and stuff like that, or just his shooting in general. Him and I had a really good film session right before we came out here. Just I wanted to make sure he knew exactly, again, what where I thought he was at his best. I thought the shots he took tonight, especially early, were exactly that. I thought a lot's made of his shot, but it's hard to shoot a high percentage when you take difficult shots, and I think that's been a growth moment for him as the season's gone on. I thought tonight the shots he took were all in rhythm. He took maybe one that I thought was a little iffy, but that's a mature way to handle things, I think, especially in a game like this. Not trying to do too much playing within yourself, but I mean the sky's the limit for him. I mean, kid's 18 now. I guess he just turned 19. His feel is really good, and the thing I liked about what he did tonight was there's a lot made of like our 3-point shooting. I mean they're the ones that they go 15 and 38, which is remarkable. We go 7 and 20. You think BYU's not playing to their strength, but the way we have shot the ball this year, teams have had to decide, are they going to guard the three or are they going to let us get to the rim? And so tonight we had 38 point paints in the point, and I thought his approach in terms of getting downhill early was set the tone for that. And so I think just his maturity as he's understanding how teams are guarding not only him but our team as well, says a lot about his where he's at mentally.
Right over to your right, Coach.
Coach Mark Stewart, Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. I know the game just ended, but I want to get your preliminary thoughts, if you had any, on facing Wisconsin, if anything stands out to you about that matchup.
Yeah, I don't know a ton about them. I know they score a lot of points. I do know that. I know they can have a team where basically everybody can shoot it from three. And so we'll have to be dialed in on exactly how we want to guard those guys. And, my coaches have been, hard at work, trying to make sure that scout's dialed and ready. But I know they've had some super high-scoring games as I've followed it loosely, but I really look forward to jumping into the tape and putting the game plan together.
Anything else? Over here.
Kevin, you've been big on stacking days. How does this day stack up among, in this vision that you've had for BYU basketball since you took over?
Yeah, I think it's I'm just proud of the way our guys approached it. And I told these guys this right when the regular season ended. From my experience on the NBA side, I was fortunate to be a part of a lot of really good teams and deep playoff runs and stuff. And it wasn't even just the teams I coached, but just what I learned in facing really good teams this time of year is you have to rely on your habits. You can't all of a sudden make stuff up and think it's going to work in the postseason. And so the way that our guys, played true to ourselves and executed the things that we've done all year long, that's a byproduct of stacking those days that we talk about, and happy for our guys because of it.
You brought an NBA approach to the college game. Do you see it starting to transfer in that way, the way that I'm not saying it's sterile, but it's not. You don't feel like you're riding it. It's like these guys know what the expectations are. The film session, it's just done in a different manner. Do you feel like that's starting to pay dividends as this season's gone on? Yeah,
I think so. I mean, obviously a lot's made of my transition from the NBA to the college game, and I think it really rears its head in just every part of our program. It's not just style of play. It's not just film. It's literally everything we do. Part mainly because that's what I know. I'm not saying that's the best way to do it, but it's just what I'm comfortable with. I think our guys, to your question, yes, have bought into the way we try to operate our program, and whether that makes us different or not, I don't know. I don't know what other teams do. I just know that with this particular group, they've bought into our style of play, the way we warm up, the way we watch film, the way our analytics guys involved, the way our nutritionist is involved, literally top to bottom. And so that's something that I'm proud of for sure.
BYU gets the win. We'll have more coming up. What is trending? All the headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. # Utah Jazz.
I think it's amazing what you're capable of when you don't think about it like that, when you don't ask yourself if you're tired. And I think Oscar just approaches it as this is what he has to do, and he's not constantly looking for the things that might be wrong with the situation.
That's Will Hardy on Oscar Schwebe's willingness to play twice in one day. But they got to be very careful with him, PK.
He's got no choice.
He's going out there. He's plus 10 when he's on the floor, and you just can't have that. I think he's starting to move into Walker Kessler category, limit his minutes.
No. He literally has no choice. He's trying to make a team.
Yep.
And I give the kid credit because he's trying to make a team. And sure, and you want me to play a third time, I'll come back after that.
I will do whatever it takes to make it in the NBA.
Rodman wasn't wearing dresses when he was trying to make the team.
No.
He wasn't getting all tatted up. He wasn't doing junkets to Vegas. Not to say that this kid is going to do anything close to that. But, of course.
But the point is when you're trying to make the team.
So I looked at their schedule. I think they got 12 games left.
They do.
Over under on how many?
Ooh, I would put the number at 1 point. Well, maybe I put it at 2.5. I want to put it at 1.5, but I don't know those last 2-3 games if it's going to be all G League rosters out there for whoever they play.
I would go, if you put it anything over 1, I would go under.
Okay, so even at 1.5, you're going under.
Mm-hmm. I think they win one more.
They've got a very difficult stretch in front of them. So I think that whatever wins they have are out there at the very end, and depending on
the doors, it's difficult.
Who plays. Yes. But some stretches are more difficult than others. And you got the Celtics tonight.
Remember Hornacek saying in the last 10 games you want to make sure you got your rhythm going. Mm-hmm. So we're at that time of the season where the other teams, even if they don't necessarily have anything to play for, still want to make sure they got what they're looking for as far as the postseason and getting their game in best shape and their team and all that stuff.
Is the one that you're looking at the Charlotte game, Monday, March 31st? That's the one game they have left against the ultimate bottom dwellers there.
I think they'll lose that one. I mean, Charlotte beat the Knicks last night. So
they did. Knicks are shorthanded with Brunson out. But
LaMelo Ball went off.
He went off? Oh, man. Well, I hope he comes back.
6:30 for the pregame tonight. Tip-off for the Jazz and the Celtics at 7:30. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
I don't know if you heard, but the Hornets beat the Knicks without Brunson, 115-98.
That's no excuse without Brunson.
That's no excuse. I love that.
He's not that good.
He's their leading scorer.
He's not that good.
Best player. It makes it easier to beat them, and Charlotte did, and picked up win number.
There's no excuse.
Picked up win number 18. The Jazz are on 16, so that's good news.
The Knicks are unable to win without Jalen Brunson. He's that good.
No, they still should have been able to beat Charlotte. They screwed it up, but the bar was a little lower. The Lakers sat pretty much everybody. And subsequently, they get drilled by the Bucks, who sat Damian Lillard. So it's the Bucks and the Lakers, but there's no Lillard, there's no LeBron, there's no Luka Doncic.
There's also no care on my behalf.
There it is. 118-89, the final.
Hey, Bronny had 17.
For the Lakers or the South Bay Lakers?
They're missing 6 or 7 games.
For the actual Lakers.
You got to play.
6 of their top 7 scorers sat.
Warrior star Steph Curry driving to the lane, gets hit, goes to the ground, is hurting. It's been diagnosed as a pelvic contusion. They ended up holding on to beat the Raptors without him, 117-114. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college basketball.
Hunter drives, lays it in at the buzzer. It's not enough. McNeese with the upset. Let the March Madness begin. The Cowboys with their first ever NCAA tournament win. A 12 seed is moving on. 69-67. McNeese upsets Clemson. Ahead to Jackson. He dribbles it out. Drake could not beat Kendrick Lamar in the battle over the last year, but the Drake Bulldogs could certainly beat the Missouri Tigers in the first round of the NCAA tournament. 67-57.
They're the two biggest upsets of the day is number 12 UC San Diego. Number 12 McNeese takes down Clemson 69-67, and number 11 Drake beats Missouri 67-57. There wasn't much in the way of upsets, and BYU took care of business, got the W, dominating the middle of the game. The end of the first half, the start of the second half, they build a 20-point lead, and they win 80-71. First victory since 2012. First time they've been in a round of a 32 since 2011. They passed the eyeball test for you, PK. Did that look good?
Yeah, I thought they looked great. They did what they needed to do. I thought they won fairly comfortably. VCU's a decent team, as I expected they would be. Demin in front of NBA scouts, looking like Steph Curry. I didn't have that rolling out of my Yahtzee cup.
Nice.
But yeah, he looked smooth. Everybody did what they can do. They played a little foosball in there in the middle. He looked good. Yeah, well, they had 18 rebounds between the two centers and 20-some points. I don't know that you can really ask anything more.
Use their size and athleticism, and not only the big guys score inside, but the perimeter guys are willing to drive the ball. So plenty of free throws, plenty of layups. And an 80-71 win.
The refs favor BYU. They have consistently. They gifted them the Arizona win, and then it was, 28-6 on the free throws in this game? Yeah. BYU's always had the advantage with the refs. Yeah. They're good people. That's why they get the advantage.
The only part of the game that sucked was that foul-a-thon the last 4 or 5 minutes. That was a lot of free throws. But BYU made them. So
driving my way to Utah football practice, so I didn't even see that. So it didn't suck for me.
BYU in Wisconsin tomorrow, 5:45 on CBS.
That's an approximation, of course.
It is an approximation. An NBA tournament can be wildly unpredictable. Wisconsin beat Montana 85-66. Struggled for a little while, and then about 15 minutes ago, they took over, dominated, and pulled away and won comfortably.
Well, I mean, they have a lot of size. And then Montana, as a Big Sky team, is not going to have that.
Wear you down.
Yeah, I mean, Montana played well. It's just that Wisconsin was better.
Utah State blown out by UCLA 72-47. That was a 27-25 game, and then it got away pretty quickly. Missed 15 straight three-pointers to end the first half and missed 3 more to start the second. 18 misses in a row from the arc, and when they tried to attack the hoop, there was a 7-3 guy standing there blocking their shots. Led to a stagnant and unproductive offense with the exception of Mason Falslev.
No wonder why BYU wants that kid. They were just outclassed. I don't think they're that bad. I don't think the gap is that big, but it was when it counted the most.
Falslev finished with 17 points and 10 boards. March Madness coverage starts today at 10 a.m. Again, you can hear it all on 1280 The Zone. We'll have games for you all day long. And the watch party continues as well. They're at 106 South this time. I'll be in South Jordan, hanging out at the watch party today. JCW's in South Jordan. DJ and PK.
#NFL.
49ers have had several players leave via free agency or trade this offseason, but general manager John Lynch said he's not fretting the losses. Quote, "We've got this thing called the draft, and we've got a lot of picks. I think the thing the fans should know is we have a plan, and we're going to execute that plan, and we're excited about the opportunity. We've got some big things coming our way." Washington Commanders wide receiver Deebo Samuel, one of the ex-49ers, says he wants to repay the franchise for believing in him after acquiring him from trade. "They put this much trust in me. I can't come in here and let them down." Deebo, angling for another big contract with a big year as well.
He's your guy.
DJ and PK.
#college football.
Georgia Bulldogs had a couple people suspended indefinitely from all team activities. Wide receiver Nitro Tuggle arrested for speeding and reckless driving Thursday. Marquez Easley has been involved in a car accident early in the week. Bulldogs coach Kirby Smart said he's struggled to convince his players to avoid speeding, racing, and reckless driving with a high number of such incidences.
Yeah, and the penalty, I mean, they're just going to have to find a way to be away from the team in the offseason, and we'll see in August when we start to get ready for the season.
Indefinitely in the summer comes to a close. Former Michigan offensive coordinator Matt Weiss, who was fired for failing to cooperate with a school investigation, had his federal indictment filed in federal court in Detroit, alleges he hacked into the computer accounts of thousands of college athletes seeking intimate photos and videos from 2015 to 2023. He allegedly accessed more than 2,000 athlete accounts and more than 1,300 students or alumni from schools across the country.
Yeah, I think most of them were females there.
Yep.
There's something going on.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag RSL.
How do we create a stable back line with competition? How we rotated the guys from the Champions Cup to now regular season, it was always tough. And we have some real competition in that left back position. Across the back line, I feel like we're the deepest we've ever been. I think with each performance, it'll push the player that started that game to continue to think about what he needs to do to maintain his level. And the guy that didn't start is really forcing different behaviors to really challenge. And if we can keep rising the bar, I feel like we'll get to where we want to be from a defensive standpoint.
Real Salt Lake hosting FC Dallas American First Field tomorrow night. That's Pablo Mastroeni talking about the competition with 7 players battling for 4 spots across the back line. Dallas comes in off a couple of home losses, and they have been giving up goals in bunches. So an opportunity for RSL to get at that back line, create some opportunities, and score. Dallas has given up 8 goals in 4 games. And that one will start at 7:30. Coverage begins at 6:30 on the Zone.
2 goals a game is bunches?
Yes, and it was 3 at home in the rain a couple weeks ago. It was the low water performance.
Well, because it was rain.
Yeah, it could be.
Of course it was
low water. Yeah, there it is. Royals are in San Diego taking on the Wave tomorrow night. Coverage will be on 102.7 HD2 with the pre-match show at 7:30. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NHL.
Now it's right in front for Small. Cooley scores! Utah pounces on a turnover, and they cash in with their top line. 1-0 Mountain Blue. Logan Cooley gets the goal. They shoot and score. Sergachev tosses one towards the net. Tons of traffic in front, and it finds its way past Reimer. 2-1. Sergachev lights the lamp here for Utah. Dylan Gunther flies in. One-timer from Carcone. Save Reimer. They score! Utah blows one past Buffalo, and the Mountain Blue take the lead. It's Dylan Gunther. Another clutch goal from number 11.
The Utah Hockey Club beats the Buffalo Sabres 5-2. Sabres came from behind a couple times to tie it up, that Dylan Gunther goal. They came with less than 6 minutes to go and made it 3-2. Turned out to be the game winner. They added an empty netter and scored a couple times there in the final minute and a half.
Oh, 2 empty netters.
2 empty netters. 5-2 the final, and so they keep pace in the playoff race. They stay 4 points out of the last playoff spot. They'll be back in action tomorrow at the Delta Center. The Tampa Bay Lightning are in town. The puck will drop at 3 o'clock. An American billionaire, Dan Friedkin, has emerged as a strong ownership option to bring the NHL to Houston. The NHL acknowledged they've spoken to multiple potential groups in Houston, but he's emerged as the front runner. What's Trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Coming up, David Locke, radio voice of the Jazz at 8 o'clock. Pablo Mastroeni at 8:30. And Mark Durrant, BYU basketball radio analyst at 9 o'clock. Next, more on the NCAA tournament, your reaction to BYU's victory. And now, what are the odds they can handle Wisconsin? DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
The NCAA tournament is here, and the Cougars and Aggies are going dancing.
Oh, fire, score!
The KSL Sports Zone will be with BYU and Utah State every step of the way in Denver and Lexington as they look to make a run in March. Hear all the play-by-play action as the Zone will be your exclusive radio home of the NCAA tournament. From Dayton to San Antonio and everywhere in between, your home for every shining moment of the NCAA tournament is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Join JJ and Alex Monday from 3 to 6 at RGS Exteriors, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. Question of the morning. What's your reaction to the Cougars finally winning an NCAA game? Skyler, it's a new era. Good win. Let's get on to Wisconsin in round 2 and show up again. This is a fun team to watch.
Okay.
Amy gives it a let's keep dancing, and then a bunch of dancing emojis, hearts, and basketball. But Dennis, that killjoy, says yawn.
Yawn? No way.
You can't yawn your way through an NCAA tournament win.
No, not at all, man. Everyone is a great one. They all count exactly the same. And so, yeah, absolutely. That's a huge win. It's a great win. It's not a yawn. Especially for a program who hasn't had it in 13 years. That's a long time, man.
That is a minute, right? Got to soak it up.
13 years.
13 years. Okay. Kudos for winning, but those silly turnovers will be there and doing it. If they don't clean them up going forward, the competition's getting tougher, Tony points out.
They would have gave it Iowa State with 29.
You're saying it's possible.
Well,
you're flirting with disaster there.
You are, but
so I would try to limit them as much as possible. But I think they've gotten a handle on that, and obviously you're always going to have some, and some are okay. If they're forms of aggressiveness, not stupid. You don't want the stupidity of them. Reckless in nature, that can't be acceptable. But I didn't really see that. No one's going to ever play a perfect game. I don't think that's ever been accomplished in the game of basketball. Majerus used to talk about it's a game of mistakes. How many can you reduce and not have and that type of thing. So from that perspective, I was okay with that. They should have a lot of confidence going into this game, and that's important. Believe you can win, and I think they do.
Joe says, I'm super excited, and I feel a sense of relief making it past the first round for the first time in about 14 years.
Yeah, I do think the fans feel a sense of that, and maybe guys like Nell and Hall, the vets, but
who'd been through it before and
the
lost
rest of
last
the
year.
players, Denim,
It's all new to Demin, right?
2K, Mag, those guys, I don't think they carried any of that burden with them. They weren't there. So from that perspective, they're happy to win. I don't feel like they needed to have a sense of relief. Maybe not even Kevin Young. I mean, it's a relief that you win when you get in these one-and-done situations, but I don't think for the majority of the folks that was the overriding factor, because I don't think they played with a burden. Like, we have got to get this, or everything we've done is down the drain. Nor do I think that they're playing with the so-called house money this round. I don't think either of those emotions were the overriding with a sense of relief, or here, we've got nothing to lose. Yeah, you do. You've got to lose the opportunity to go to the Sweet 16, continue your season, because I don't think that you should be thinking, wow, we're a heavy underdog. The world is against us. I mean, you can think that if you want to play that game, but I don't see that.
Leave that for McNeese State.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at rankings, there's whatever that might mean, there's not that much difference. This is an extremely winnable game.
3 versus 6 isn't much difference,
No.
and most people don't see much difference, which is why Vegas established a 1-point spread. Wisconsin is favored by a single point.
Right, and they're ranked 13, you're ranked 17. So this is
What's the
virtually
difference?
as close as you can get.
Right.
This is an extremely winnable game.
It's a good matchup. It's winnable for both teams.
Yeah.
Just go play your best ball.
And between 3 and 6, it should be. Everything now should be tight.
Mike, they're not done yet with 2 exclamation points.
Why'd you yell?
Because you put exclamation points on the end. Tanner, 5 to go.
Well, yeah.
Greg, first game of another 6-game win streak. No, we've seen him play Houston. I think the 1 and 2 seeds have separated themselves from college basketball, and I think they'll have strong tournament performances here.
Yeah, but I'm not even thinking about that.
Nope. Get to the Sweet 16.
That's a long ways. I'm just thinking about beating Wisconsin. You got a game against Wisconsin, Sweet 16 and all that stuff. I'm not even thinking about that. It's just you got a game at Wisconsin. You've got basically 30-some hours to prepare for it, waking hours. So that should be enough time because they've got just the same amount of time as you do. And you're both sitting in there in Denver and everything's equal. And go into this game. I mean, the motto, as it should be, for virtually all Americans, if not all citizens of the world, get us to New Jersey. That should be the motto. We're going to Jersey.
Home to the motherland.
Yes. For a small state, you got to admit, there's a lot of folk that come out of there that made a mark on the world.
I've got that song, going to Memphis, Tennessee. I just don't think I can work it. I don't think I can make it work for New Jersey. Maybe you can. You're better at that stuff. Adapt that song.
My machine, she's stuck in the mud somewhere in the swamps of Jersey. You want to go to Jersey. That's where it's at, Newark. Right across the street from where my father grew up in East Orange. Literally minutes away. You could walk there. Minutes away from where I was born. And the world has never been the same. When I came into this world in 1981.
Don is very confident and optimistic. Most likely, BYU's going to have an easier time with Wisconsin. The Badgers seem to struggle with Montana. BYU to the Elite Eight this year.
I watched that game because to get a better idea. Yeah. I've seen Wisconsin play this year, but this one was a different aspect as I'm watching this game to be able to knowing that the immediacy of it. So I don't really think they struggled. I think we're disrespecting Montana if we do that. I think Montana is a fine basketball team, and they competed very, very well in that game.
They're not a 16 seed that got hot for a week and lucked their way into the tournament.
I don't think so, no.
They're a 25-win team that had a really good year.
Yeah.
But they're overmatched. Wisconsin has too much size, too many athletes, and can wear them down.
Right. So, no, I don't think they struggled. That's not the way I felt as I watched that game. But I also felt like they're not unbeatable either. This is not a monumental task, as you just alluded to, playing Houston. That would be a monumental task. But
right.
That's not where we're at.
Playing Duke in Florida would be a monumental task.
That could potentially be down the road. Right now, this is a winnable game for both sides. There's no reason why both sides aren't feeling good going into that game. And I'm looking forward to that game tomorrow night. Because anything can happen. It's literally going to boil down to which team plays better. Both of them are capable.
Yep. And so who has the better day?
Yeah.
Who shoots the three a little bit? Who handles pressure-free throws?
This isn't a 7-game series.
Yeah. Who has someone come in off the bench a little nervous, maybe a little inexperienced, cough the ball up and give up a couple of easy layups and dunks with nasty turnovers?
You're clearly pointing to BYU. Your anti-BYU bias is so strong. I see what you're doing there. And I will not allow that on my half of the show.
Yesterday was my anti-Ute bias. Draw a line down the middle of the table here on my half of the show.
What do you got? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it was yesterday, but that was your thing yesterday.
I don't remember saying that. I think you're making that to crap up, and I will not tolerate that.
Yark, find the clip.
Your forms of inaccuracy as far as
you want to talk inaccuracies?
Yeah.
Mr. 1981.
1981.
I was born again in 1981, brother. You're a spiritual man.
Born again. Got it. Okay.
And
Got
get
it.
with the program.
Good.
Things changed dramatically in 81.
Good clarification.
I don't know what your problem is either. You're both of your guys' attitude. I did not have that rolling out of my Yahtzee cup this morning.
Yahtzee cup. How old were you the last time you played Yahtzee?
Oh, not that old. Not that long ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a Yahtzee guy.
I probably played it when the kids were smaller. I probably did.
No, I like Yahtzee.
I had an aunt I played Yahtzee with.
I would scream Yahtzee Moto all the time, man.
Yahtzee Moto?
Yeah, I'm going for Yahtzee Moto. Yeah, what do you mean, Yahtzee? It's a contemporary game.
Really isn't.
I mean, this has been...
That's a poll question waiting to happen on a Friday.
This has been a great week. I mean, you got BYU stacking days. I came back from Hawaii where I was stacking Rays.
Nice.
It's been a phenomenal week, man.
Yeah. You're up at Utah football practice.
Coming up.
You're up at Utah football practice where they were stacking plays.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. Stacking Rays, stacking days.
While we sit here and discuss BYU and your reaction to finally winning an NCAA game, there's also the reaction to Utah State losing to UCLA by 25. A disappointing final 3 weeks to the season that held so much promise. 4 blowout losses. Anything can be done about that, or it's one of those things?
I get better players. I think that's the most important thing. Get better players. Retain the ones you have. Go get better ones. I mean, they got smoked by their opponent, and I don't think that there's that big of a difference, but there was. Falslev didn't have any help. Imart couldn't buy a basket. I think he only had one.
Shutout.
7 from 3.
Shutout at halftime, and the game was over not long after that.
You might be able to say, given the fact that they sucked down the stretch, that they overachieved earlier. Because they had some nice wins.
I wonder how much of it was the way their schedule was stacked, because when you look for really good road wins, they lost to the first-place team, New Mexico, on the road. Obviously, CSU and Boise blew them out, so the San Diego State road win really stands out.
I put St. Mary's there, too.
Yes, they did have that. And they had Iowa on a neutral floor early in the year.
Yeah. They had a nice season.
They did.
It ended sourly, but it ends that way for such a majority of the teams. Yeah. Missouri, looking at it. UC San Diego, I'm sure they're disappointed. They had some real good opportunities to win that game against Michigan, and they sort of fell apart a little bit. Couldn't make a shot. But when it's too early right now. You know, you need a couple of weeks to get some perspective on the good times and what you've been able to accomplish in the coach's first year and all that type of thing. It's hard to see through the disappointment in the immediacy and to have to get up today and then travel back and all that stuff and then have to bus up to Logan. It's a drag. And a disappointment. And it's going to sit with them for a little bit. They probably didn't sleep very well last night, and they're in no mood to be shucking and jiving today. I understand that. I can remember there was a time I covered an NCAA tournament, and I forget if it's BYU, Utah. I don't remember a thing about it, but I remember coming back to the airport. And even for me as a beat guy, it was a little bit of a downer. Because you're on such a high, and especially on Selection Sunday, you know, when your name is called. And in those days, they used to let you sit right there with the players, and maybe they still do. Some of them do. And so you felt a little bit of a part of it. And then it ends, as I spoke yesterday, it ends so suddenly. It's just, man, it's over, right? And I fly back, and who do I see walking through the terminal? Utah State's basketball team and Stu Morrill. And you can just see it in their faces.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a disappointment because you're together. And once it ends,
It'll never be the same.
Quickly.
And
it ended quickly then. It ends even more quickly now with the transfers and guys coming and going. And Utah State, they've had coaches coming and going.
Right, so the group that you've just spent the last several months with, going back to the offseason, you'll never be together because invariably some, and more so now than ever, will be leaving. And that's a little bit of a downer. And then, you grow close to your teammates and your assistants and all the stuff that's involved. And the reality is, in a few years, you'll never see these guys again.
Yeah.
Because everybody goes their separate ways. And so I understand that. There's a form of disappointment there. There's no doubt about it. You need to give it some time before you can recognize you had a lot of good a lot of good moments. It wasn't a trash season by any stretch.
Can't throw back 26 wins and a trip to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I mean, great moments. The Boise State improbable win at home.
Mm-hmm.
The playing in front of your classmates and they go nuts. Yeah, who wouldn't want that? Even if you knew what the ending was going to be, who wouldn't want that?
Lots of people want it. That's why they go to play Utah State to play.
It would be fun.
Yeah, they're on their recruiting trip, and they see it, and they
Just
want
the fact that you get to play college ball.
Right.
The odds are stacked against you. So, but they can't see that right now. That's too clouded. That they don't want to hear that in the moment. But once you sign up for sports, it's going to be disappointment and heartbreak. It's basically life. You're going to have disappointments and heartbreak. How do you deal with it? How do you bounce back? I think that's the way you look at it. And tomorrow night at about 8 o'clock, either Wisconsin or BYU is going to feel the same thing.
There's really no way around it.
Yes.
It's what you signed up for.
Yes.
And I was texting with a longtime friend of mine who's a UCLA season ticket holder and been a Bruin fan his whole life. He's like, I really hope we win this game.
Jamal Wilkes?
No, it's not Jamal Wilkes. I really hope we win this game because we're going to get destroyed by Tennessee. He doesn't have any faith in UCLA's ability to win in the second round as a 7 seed playing a 2 seed.
Yeah, well, that's because he's a fan, and you're invested, so you're trying to soften the blow. I get that's what fans do.
That may be it.
I don't really get into that because I've never really been that kind of fan. But I know the majority of fans, that's the way they are. So they have to come up with, so yeah, I knew it was coming, so it doesn't hurt. It's not going to ruin my summer. I get it. That's okay. That's part of being a fan. And fans signed up for it too.
True story.
Yeah.
You're all in, but you know you're going to lose.
Right.
I mean, the Chiefs have had as good a run as anybody could hope to have. And yet, half the time they don't win the Super Bowl and ends with disappointment for them.
But I think when you can have a step back as there's time. Like I would ask Ute fans, you went to 2 Rose Bowls, lost them both. Would you sign up for the Rose Bowl? I mean, everything has changed now, but akin to the Rose Bowl, knowing that you may lose, sure you would.
Well, they would, just to adjust it, the Ute fans right now would sign up for the playoffs, knowing that they're probably going to lose. They're probably not going to win it all. But you might win a game along the way.
There's great times along the way.
Ask the Sun Devils.
There's great
times along the way.
The Utes against SC here when Rising scored the 2-point conversion.
Epic.
Yes.
Even in the 8-win season, the Ute fans were so thrilled when they went down to USC and won. And Bryson Barnes scrambled for a big game to set up the field goal to win it. I mean, ultimately, it was an 8-win season, and it was a come down from what they'd had. But in that moment, that was awesome.
It was the last time they went in there, and people remember that. I was in the pool in Maui, Hawaii, talking to people who live a mile and a half from Wrigley Field, and their daughter goes to SC. They're Big Ten all the way. All the way. Hardcore. In fact, I think they might even have gone to Wisconsin. But she's a senior at USC.
Mm-hmm.
So they went and got her and came out to Hawaii. We're in the pool. My friends that we went with, longtime Ute season ticket holders, right? And what you do is you ask them, hey, can you take our picture, the four of us?
Mm-hmm.
And then you end up there. Well, where are you from? Everybody, where are you from?
Yeah.
And then you start talking. We're in the water. And she's talking, oh, yeah, Utah? Oh, man, you've had some great games against SC. Now, they have SC awareness because their daughter.
Right.
is a senior. And this gal who took our picture, she's reciting plays.
From the game?
Yes.
Wow, hardcore.
Oh, yeah.
That's a couple of years down the road now.
Right. But her kid was there.
Right.
And so they're watching. And they went out to, I think, 4 home games for SC this year. And to see their daughter and their footballs. I scoped it out a little bit. When she says, where are you from? Oh, Chicago. Oh, yeah, go Cubs. Yeah, they lost the first game in Japan. So I got a sports fan.
Big time.
Right,
yeah.
Right. She already, and that was when at Hawaii time, I think the first pitch was like 12:15 a.m., right? And so once I put out that feeler to see where I could go with the conversation, and once she just responded, boom, we lost, yeah. And all right, it's one of my own here. I could talk to her about it. And, oh, yeah. And she was just reciting all these things with Utah, and she knew all about it. Yeah, that's great, man. And who wouldn't want that? In fact, those guys that we were in Hawaii with, we went down to California for an extended weekend from that game. And my wife was there, obviously, and she's with him in the stands. I'm in the press box. And the guys, this will get back to him, he can't watch when Utah kicks off.
His wife's just looking at him like, what are you doing, dude?
And
so, does he bury his head in a jacket? Does he turn around and face the other way?
Hey, they're going to return it. Didn't Marion return the kick against Utah last year? Didn't they have a return for a touchdown?
I'm trying to remember when Marion did return that one.
I
think you're right.
He had the one against Wyoming, and then,
Right. But I think it was against Utah also.
So he's just scarred by...
Well, he texts me, can we ever get a kicker who can kick it in the end zone? Right in the game. Right when, yeah. He's convinced that every time the Utes score or beginning of the game or the half...
The ball is in the air. He's getting...
Yeah,
okay.
And he can't watch. He's got to turn around.
Wow.
Yeah, so my wife was laughing, but yet when the Diamondbacks were in the World Series... And against the Mets, not the Yankees, when that Brung Young Kim was serving up game-winning home runs left and right, she went downstairs. Couldn't watch.
But I'm not crazy. You're crazy.
Yeah, that's all part of being a fan. I get it.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. When we come back, top of the hour, in about 20 minutes, we'll have David Locke, Utah Jazz radio voice.
12 minutes, but what the heck?
Well, I bet he's not here till 8:05. So 17 minutes. Count them down. DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone.
You love your dog. You can't imagine life without him. So it's time to vote for Fido and the rest of his kind.
What up, dog?
It's the Man's Best Friend Bracket Challenge, where you can vote for the best dogs on the planet. Vote now at KSLSports.com. But take your time. We know these decisions can be rough. Really? Rough? Who wrote this?
You better watch yourself, big dog.
It's the Man's Best Friend Bracket Challenge. Going on at KSLSports.com. Powered by IFA. Stop by one of their stores today or visit them online at IFA.coop. IFA. Helping to grow the things you love.
Band of the day today is Sum 41. Lead singer Derek Whibley celebrating his birthday. It's brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts events in 2025, check out livenation.com. 16 NCAA tournament games yesterday, PK, and the team that was seeded to win won 12 times. We had the big upset was the 12-seed McNeese winning their first tournament game ever. 111, 110, 1-9. That's it. couple ways to go here. One, well, hold on. There's a whole nother day of games, and there'll be upsets and March Madness and Cinderellas and all that stuff, and it'll happen today. You wait and see. Or the selection committee got it right, and NIL is making it harder than ever for the little guy to upset the big guy.
Well, I don't know about that.
Too big a statement for you out of the gate.
Yeah, how many upsets do we have? Because you can argue, and I heard Billis talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
This very thing. The Palos Verdes Peninsula's own Jay Billis.
Okay.
Before he ventured east. That we always hear about the transfers up. Well, there's just as many transfers down.
Does happen. Yes, it does.
Yeah. And there's a lot of quality players. Guys that are, especially in basketball, I think that's the one sport I can recall in the 80s covering L.A. City.
Mm-hmm.
You have CIF, and then you had L.A. City, which is
its own section.
The San Fernando Valley and the basically South Central and
the heart of L.A.
Harbor area.
Right.
And so my wife worked at Washington, which is right there in South Central, 109th and Danker, 108th, I think. And that was my assignment, covering those preps. And there were so many great players. These in a 32-minute game, they would score triple figures, up and down, like crazy. But some of them are 5'8", 5'9". You know, there's the Muggsy Bogues and Spud Webbs of the world are the ultimate exceptions. There's so many great players that
nobody's coming.
They don't have the size.
Nobody's coming for your 5'10" player.
It just, yeah.
The college rosters only have a couple of 6-footers.
And you can go to these smaller places, or maybe they're like Traore. He's a big man in a
small man's body, relatively, yeah.
Man's body,
He plays like you expect a 6'11" guy to play.
Right. And if he were 6'11", he would be in the NBA right now. Right? But for what he has, he's very skilled. He just doesn't have the body. So the point I'm making is there's a lot of great players out there who don't get the opportunity to play at the Dukes of the world because they don't have the physical characteristics that are required. But they're still very good. And they can put in good games. Montana did not pull off the upset, but they accorded themselves well. I watched that entire game.
It's a 4-point game with 15 minutes to go. They were right there for a long stretch of time.
Right. And Wisconsin's Big Ten, there always has been that difference. You grew up in Big West. A lot of quality players, but they were mostly undersized.
Big guys are 6'6", and you get excited when you have a 6'9" or 6'10" big guy.
Who's good.
Yeah, who's good.
Yeah.
A solid player. And then you go to the NCAA tournament, and those guys are playing against 2 or 3 of those guys on the court for the first time.
Yeah.
There's just less space and less size. And they're like, wow, first off, I'm not used to having to beat a 6'9" guy. When I get to the rim, there's a 6'9" guy coming to help.
It's like Dave Rose said with Gonzaga back in the day. Yeah. What did they have?
They've got the best big guy in the league. And it turns out they also have the second and third best big guy in the league.
Right.
And we do see, to your point, that Drake, was it 4 or 5 guys they brought up from D2 because the coach made the move from D2.
Right.
And when I'm sitting there watching a little bit of that game and, talk about that a little bit, and you're just thinking, there's some D2 rosters that are getting rated because everyone's going to copy them. And some of those guys may not be good enough, but some of those guys might be good enough, and they end up D2 for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time. It happens in football, too. We've seen kids from Oregon transfer into local schools. We've seen Brandon Rose landed at UMass after quarterbacking at Utah.
Well, yeah, the coach who got the job, the interim job, went over there.
Yeah.
I forget his name now.
So relationships take you wherever, and guys move, quote-unquote, up and down levels.
But I think basketball has more quality players that don't fit the numbers-wise.
There's a lot of 6'3" guys, and where do they land?
Yeah. And they just weren't blessed with what you need. You need to be 6'7", 6'8", and they're not. But they're really good.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, joins us after the break. Pablo Mastroeni is here at 8:30. And Mark Durrant, BYU basketball radio analyst at 9 o'clock. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. DJ PK joined the zone today live from the JCW's watch party in South Jordan, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Stop by and get a juicy burger, thick shake, and watch some games. Mention the zone at the register and get 10% off your order during the event. That's JCW's 10660 South Riverfront Parkway in South Jordan.
Beautiful.
DJ, PK, and David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, joins us. David, good morning.
Good.
David, James, Patrick, Kinahan, a Friday morning. Nothing makes me happier. I mean, a foot of powder definitely does, but that's all right. Let's pretend nothing makes me happier than wrapping up the week with you guys. 3 of Danny Ainge's creations all active at the same time. BYU continuing. The Celtics looking to repeat and the Jazz being built. Let's talk Cougs, baby. Tell me about Kevin Young's team. I'm late to the bandwagon. I got to jump fully on. Can they beat Wisconsin? Do we get a second weekend? Answer all my questions, CJ and PK.
So Ainge is the creation. He fathered BYU basketball.
He is the creator. Ainge, Genesis. In the beginning, there was Danny Ainge.
Yes.
And it was good.
Very good.
Yes.
For anybody that Danny Ainge has created.
Wisconsin's a 1-point favorite, so it's a toss-up.
Tell me who's going to make...
Talk to me. Talk to me about Kevin Young's team. I watched a little bit last night. They held off the rally. I saw some spread floor. I saw spacing. It looked very unusual for a college game.
And now that he has a year under his belt, prepare for it to change a little more. He has made some comments about roster construction. He was asked, we always hear the difference between the pro game and the college game. You've coached in both. Well, now in a year in, what have you seen? And he went right to roster construction. Most college teams can't put 4 or 5 guys around the three-point line. They just don't have players with that much skill. They don't shoot it that well, and they can't do it. And he did say most teams. And I was left with the impression he wants to be one of those few teams. Give him another year in the transfer portal, and let's see what it looks like.
Because I remember watching Virginia lose. They were either a 1 or 2 seed that year. And the issue was that whoever they were playing, which I think might have been Odom's team, was playing 5 out. And there wasn't anybody in the ACC that played 4 out. And it was clear that Tony Bennett's entire defensive system was based on having, short routes to go to help defense and cut everyone off and make the game unwatchable.
If you have A.J. DeBonsa for 1 year and no one can stay in front of him, what if you could surround him with shooters and play with 5 out?
Right.
And no one can stay in front of him, right?
Well,
there's no help.
Right. And also, there isn't nearly the length. So if you can create space in a collegiate game, I think you can create more space because there's just nowhere near the length that there is in the NBA game. So you have to create – you can't do anything but create space in the NBA game because if you don't move the length, you're dead. In college, it feels like when you can create space, as hard as it is, Kevin Young's exactly right, there aren't that many skilled players. And there aren't that many players who can also dribble drive, right? Like space only really works if everybody can also dribble drive. Because if you have a guy sitting out there who can't drive, then it takes – you probably can get away with it in college, but in the pros, everyone has to be able to shoot and drive. But yeah, no. So is BYU? I mean, they really handled. That was a pretty big domination when I watched because every time VCU made a surge, they had the answer. What's your feeling? Like, what's your thoughts on them versus Wisconsin and what they're capable of pulling off here?
I still think they're going to be able to need to hit the threes because I think Wisconsin, this might be, in terms of height, not necessarily the most physical because if you get opportunity to watch the Houston Cougars, I mean, they guard unbelievably and they are just in your jersey virtually literally. But Wisconsin's got some height that could make it a little more difficult because one of BYU's big guys is only 6'6", and this Traore, Keita is, I think he's about 6'9". He's very physical, not much of an offensive player, and you put him on the free throw line, you're going to hope that he goes 1 for 2, probably at best. So I think it's important for their perimeter guys to have success, which equates into making shots. If they can make shots, we saw it against last week when, they hit 18 threes against Iowa State and scored 94 points. and then in the next game against Houston, they couldn't make a shot and they got smoked. So if they can make shots, and it sounds so basic, but I think especially against Wisconsin, which has a lot of height, I think they've got a good shot to win.
Do they take enough threes to reduce the variance? In other words, that's like one of the hidden things I don't think anyone's talking about enough. If you're getting off enough, like Boston's taking 50% of their shots as threes, which sounds obscene. We'll see the Celtics tonight. But because they take 50% of their shots as threes, they've actually are reducing the variance. They'll get, the more you shoot, the closer you get to your average. It's when you shoot fewer and then if two guys have a bad night, then all of a sudden you've had a really, do they shoot enough of them to reduce the variance?
They really like to shoot the three. They toned it down.
Good.
They toned it down in the first game because they had a size advantage, and the game plan was to go inside and punish them inside because they didn't think VCU could stop them, and they were right. But they took 23s and 34 twos. I will be stunned if that's the ratio against Wisconsin. I will be shocked.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be more threes, and their leading scorer, Richie Saunders, was 1 of 6 from 3. So depending on whether you're an optimist or pessimist, you could say, law of numbers, Matt Harpering, law of numbers, he's going to have a night shooting the ball because he's too good a scorer. He's had too many 20-point games. But there's also the thought, well, he lit up a bunch of bad teams, and now you're into the second round of the NCAA tournament, and everyone knows he's the leading scorer, is going to focus on him. It's going to be hard for him to get good looks.
Well, that's where you have to have a drive game. Does he have a? I don't know. I mean, I know nothing here. Does he have a drive game?
He's got a
floater.
He's got a little bit, and we saw a little bit actually of it against VCU. He was comfortable attacking the hoop again and again, but they're a smaller team. It's harder to do against a bigger,
Arizona.
more
That's how he got
team.
to the line.
Yeah.
Because if you're just what happens. This is what happens in the NBA. Also, if you're just a shooter, and we get to the playoffs, which is the equivalent of the NCAA tournament, then you've got you're scouted, and they've got their game plan, and they're not going to let you get that shot. They're going to be 2 steps closer than they were in the regular season. Now you don't get that shot off. You have to be able to loosen that defense with some drives. If you don't have it, you're in trouble.
He is not stand still catch and shoot guy. That is, he's more well rounded than that.
Okay.
And the rest of the team shot the three well against VCU. I mean, everybody else combined was 6 of 14 from 3. That was a fine game shooting the ball. So those guys, even though they're probably not shooting a lot of them, they ought to have confidence. I guess the wild card is that Egor Demin, who has not shot the three well for long stretches of this season, shot it very well against VCU. He was 3 of 7, and that was, I think Cougar fans were surprised by that. I know I was.
Do you think the fact that longtime Big Ten powerhouse caused another Utah school a hard time means that Utah schools don't match up very well with Big Ten schools? That was a UCLA joke. Okay, move on.
They certainly did not match up with UCLA. I mean, UCLA's running a 7-3 guy out there, so, they didn't match up with that.
From Spain, no less.
Period. End of story.
Wait, just for interest, why is the Spain part relevant?
It's not, but just
okay. I just love you.
Just a detail to throw in there.
Okay, I just love you. Okay, perfect.
So translate all of this to the NBA, because we're trying to figure out in the NCAA tournament, what we saw in the real regular season, was it real? What translates to the NCAA tournament, where the competition's going to get better, right? So we're seeing some good things out of Jazz players, but we are seeing them in a situation where there isn't much pressure on them because they don't want to win a bunch of games. And it's certainly not the postseason, but it's not really even regular season. What are you seeing that's good, that translates where you think they got something, and what we're seeing in this player now could really matter in 3 years?
So I will put the caveat on this, right, that this is the time of year where last year we were watching Luka Samanic and Darius Baisley and Kenny Lofton Jr. Kyle's outside shooting has been going on for a long time now. I think since February 1st, he's check this, but I think he's 40 of 85. It's pretty crazy. So that change that Andrew Warren and Mike Williams, Jazz assistant coaches, with Will Hardy overseeing, worked on with Kyle. I mean, you go take Kyle the previous month of Kyle, he's shooting 17% from 3. That's a pretty big transformation. So I think that translates and is what they're trying to figure out. Like, if he can do this, then what can he do otherwise? Like, what are the other things we can do with him? I know they're talking about possibly having him play the 4 more. He started with Walker the other night. They didn't spend a lot of time on it, but, they're trying to find a way to figure out where he can play and, frankly, where he can defend. And then the second, I think the recent shooting of Bryce Sensabaugh is important, I think, also because he's doing it coming off a slump. I think it's important when these young players go through a bad stretch and then they bounce out of it. To me, that shows me a little fortitude and ability to play. So I think that's really, really important. Let's stop there.
I will use the word emergence loosely because I'm not fully committed to it. But how much of the emergence of Filipowski allows them to pursue a trade for Markkanen?
Oh, I don't know that Kyle can play rotation minutes yet.
So the trade for Markkanen just stands on its own. It's either a good deal or a bad deal when someone picks up the phone and calls them, or they call, or whatever, however it works.
Right. Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I haven't seen enough from Kyle to say, oh, that's a 28-minute-a-night player, and we're blocking his route.
When you see Isaiah Collier, do you see a guy who's going to be in the league for 7 to 8 years at minimum as a backup point guard at minimum? Whether it's a good team, a mediocre team, or a bad team, if he shoots and improves, maybe he gets better. But he's established that he's going to find a way to at least have a role on a team somewhere in the league for 7 to 8 years.
So it sure feels like he has all the special skills to do that. Mm-hmm. And I think his shooting will improve, which will allow that to take place. If his shooting does not improve, which is 25% from 3 right now, there are not 7 or 8 year players who shoot 25% from 3. But I presume his shooting will get better. I think one of the things you have to think about is that he's never taken a catch and shoot 3 probably in his life till he came to the NBA. Mm. He's had the ball in his hands his entire life. Why would he have ever taken? Sounds so silly, but you actually watched him early in the year, and whenever he took an off the bounce 3, it was really close. It didn't always go in, but it looked good. And then he would take a catch and shoot 3, and it hit the mascot. Now all of them are at least close. I mean, literally, when you used to watch college, you go back. There's a Locked On Jazz episode where I talked about Isaiah Collier, and I literally led the conversation by saying, you have to take the possessions where he shoots the jump shot and he goes behind the glass and wipe it from your memory to evaluate this player. He used to miss by so much, but that's gone away. So I presume that will improve. He's got a really special knack for tempo, speed, finishing at the rim, getting to the basket. He's figured out how to finish at the rim. Now it's a corkscrew reverse side layup. Early in the year, he tried to go straight in and he got blocked every time. He's adjusted beautifully on that. He understands space on the floor. So he's got a lot of things really going for him. There are also, just to be perfectly blunt, a few hundred NBA tombstones on the side of the road of non-shooters.
All right, David, we will leave it right there. Good to have a little NCAA tournament talk with you. Good to have a little Jets. Yeah, already.
Hatch said we got to wrap it up.
I like you guys so much, and I want to talk to you more, and I enjoy it. And
I was surprised by it, but the boss says you got to wrap it up.
But if I don't get enough PK in my life, what happens to me? You don't care about me. We've been together for 25 years, and you don't care about me.
No, it's Yak. It's not us.
David Locke every Tuesday and Friday for a full hour with DJ and PK right here on the Zone. In studio. Hey, Mike Fulton comes in studio.
Okay, it's all good. Thanks. See you later.
Well, the hockey guys are easier to deal with.
They are.
Okay.
NBA guys and their egos. Bye, David. You're the man.
Love you guys.
All right. David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz. DJ and PK, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Pablo Mastroeni, RSL head coach, will join us. Mark Durrant, BYU basketball radio analyst at 9 o'clock. And John Linehan, BYU assistant basketball coach, is going to join us at 9:30. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
It's that time of year. The tournament is now underway. Hey, who do you have going all the way?
Who do you have going all the way?
Keep tabs on your selections now by logging on to KSLSports.com and following all the action on the Basketball Mayhem page.
I love college basketball.
It's your chance to win cold, hard cash. The KSL Sports Basketball Mayhem is powered by Omada Real Estate. Download the free Omada app today from the real estate experts as the Stern Team. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination to KSLSports.com/contest. And listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week. Sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. Man, it's just like brushing teeth now. You do it every day. You got it down.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We are joined by Pablo Mastroeni, RSL head coach. Pablo, good morning. Pablo, good morning.
Good morning.
Pablo, you assess every situation so precisely it stuns me. I saw you leaving a group meeting, and there were free umbrellas, and you walk out with two, and I say one word just to tease you a little bit, give you a little hard time. You're like, one for me, one for the wife. Never miss an opportunity, DJ. Always thinking. You're amazing. You've got a supercomputer processing chip up there.
Yeah, it'd be weird. And you can walk, you can actually utilize the whole umbrella. If there's two people under one, then it's kind of, it's cool for a first date, but after that, it's, you want your own little space, don't you?
And that's really weird, because when does it ever rain in Phoenix? So how do you even know about this stuff?
That's a great point. I don't have an umbrella in Phoenix. It's just around here, PK.
There you go. Now, while you're finely tuned all the time, I do sometimes find you at odds with public opinion. You just see things differently. I have talked to fans who have found the last two games wildly entertaining. End-to-end action, lots of chances, plenty of goals. Yeah, you win some, you lose some. You lost one, you won another. But it's been entertaining, which is why people pay for this. And then you get asked about that in the postgame, and your two words, no bueno. And then you go into all the stress. Why are you so out of touch and not out of touch, but out of tune with the population and the way all the fans are seeing the game?
No, listen, I enjoy exciting football. And for me, exciting football is when we completely dominate the game. And so they've been exciting games, but they've been two end-to-end, right? And I think for me, I go back and I look at the decisions that we have more so when we're in attacking transition. So we steal the ball from the opponents and we're breaking the goal. And it's the same in basketball as well. It's like, is this a good go to the basket opportunity, or is this a good set up your attacking offense opportunity? And that's what we're kind of sifting through. There's going to be, and I tell the guys all the time, there's going to be a lot of mistakes in the game. And the most important thing is that we react the right way. And to be fair, the guys have been doing a good job when we make that decision to go to the basket and it gets turned over and then it's a double transition. The guys are busting their tails to get back on defense and do a good job. And we did a much better job in Houston defending the goal. So it's not so much that I don't like the game. It's just on the sidelines. You want to see more control, and you want the game to be opened up when you're down a goal and you're chasing it. You want the game to open up, but when you have a lead, you want to see almost you dictate the game with the ball, make them run, make them suffer, and those are things that we're working on this week.
I think a lot of it in coaching across all sports, from the coaching perspective, is telling the guys what they need to do. And then when they see what you've been telling them works, how much does that reinforce the message and is able to then you have more credibility with them because what you've been telling them in terms of what we saw in Houston came to pass?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think, results will always validate the teachings, right? There's got to be some kind of validation to continue to motivate the guys to continue doing it. And I think in this situation, it's really about, every soccer player dislikes defending. And nowadays, even the defenders don't like to defend a whole lot. Everyone loves the ball. And so if you start with that, then you could say, okay, so then we talk about decisions with the ball in certain moments of the game that can dictate whether or not you keep attacking for the next 5 minutes or you're defending for the next 5 minutes. And so I think that's a great motivator, and the guys are really getting that feel, and it is a feel, because you have to feel, are we on top of the game, right? Because again, if we're behind the score sheet, we want to make sure we make the game crazy. We want those guys pulling out of their box. We want transitions. But when we're on top of games, what's the triggers that we're looking for to make sure that as a collective we understand, all right, let's really move this ball and be dynamic with the ball. Let's run them with the ball, and then when they open up and they try to come after it, we're gonna hit them hard. So it's an important part of the game, and unfortunately, it's probably the hardest thing to teach is to understand the momentum, the score line. And so we've been working as a collective to really get a good idea as to what the triggers are that are going to change our behaviors.
A lot of people who played sports at whatever level, high school, college, professionally, associate film with when the coach shows them what they did wrong and why they suck and why they're not playing and what they have to go work on in practice. And it kind of becomes a negative thing. I'm curious how much positive film you show, because you've been saying we have to get numbers up in the box. We need more guys to get forward. And the team scored a very good team goal in the opening minute of the game. And I couldn't help but notice you had a defensive midfielder, Emeka Eneli, in the box making a great run. He got a great pass from Diego Luna, and he made the perfect decision and played a perfectly weighted ball right in front of the goal for Diego to score on. Do you go back and show this is what I'm talking about and go with the positive? Because that probably confused a lot of us who got yelled at during film sessions.
No, I think there's a couple things to that. I think one of the wrinkles that we want to throw to our attacking scheme was our pivots driving with the ball, because those are the hardest guys to follow, right? Once a pivot on your team breaks a midfielder on their team and he carries his run, now a center back is going to be overloaded. He's going to either have to deal with a striker or the winger, or he's going to have to deal with the pivot coming through. And so it just adds numerical superiority in an area of the field where they have to think quick. And so I think that's been kind of something that we've been talking about since preseason to kind of deal with teams that sit all the way back, is like, how do we create another number in the attack? And that was a great example of that. And that was a really executed play. Diego Luna had his fingerprints all over it. Obviously, Diogo running forward, right, and found himself naked in the box. And so, the game model stuff, when these things come through, it's like this. The video is great, and we show a lot of positive video. We'll probably do a 3-to-1 ratio. We'll show one clip that needs improvement, and then we'll show 3 moments in the game where they do it. So again, it's always about emphasizing we're capable of this, and here are 3 good examples of it. How do we make this our way every game, and the understanding? And so I think with each game we're getting a clear idea as to who we are, but more importantly now, it's getting the results that validate the work that we've been doing since preseason.
You talk about defending and how a lot of it is energy, and you made the basketball reference, and I've heard basketball coaches say when the team scores, they have more energy to play defense, and when shots aren't going in, they seem to slump, hang their heads type of thing. How about in your sport? Have you found good offense can translate into more energy on defense?
Absolutely, PK. I think that is fundamental. It's incredible how the lights and the eyes get wide, and when you score a goal, you're just so much more in tune. I would say you're experiencing life outside of you when you score a goal. In other words, your senses are heightened. I think when you or an individual on the team or the team itself is in a bad way during the game, everything goes internal, and it's like, oh man, I just made a mistake, or oh man, these guys, we can't get on top of the ball, and then it's just, but it's pervasive, right? So that I think in every sport, it's what triggers this belief system, And scoring goals is the greatest trigger of any belief system because now we're on top of the game. We control it. The fans are into it. Everyone's vibing. And that's why it's so important to get guys in the box to score goals, because the more goals we score, the more we feel, like we're going to win this game, and the more our senses are tuned in.
You mentioned Diego Luna's fingerprints were all over that first goal because not only did he make that pass in the final third of the field, but if you back the play up when you have the ball in your own half, he looks like he's trapped, pinned against the sideline, and somehow he wiggles out of that. He's really good with the ball at his feet, and he used his magic, and he got free and started everything in a positive direction. He's supposed to be wearing a mask for 3 months. That's what the doctors told him. He got hit in the face, had his nose broken in 16 places, needed surgery, couldn't even get on a treadmill and get his heart beat up for a while he healed. After a month, he stops wearing the face mask, and he says it's messing with my peripheral vision. And I can't help but think, that's dangerous. I get your peripheral vision. But with what he did in the first minute with the ball at his feet, I'm thinking he was right. I mean, it was risky. I get from the health perspective it's risky. But he was right about what was happening on the field, and it was on display like 30 seconds into the game.
Yeah. No, I think – and that was – a conversation with the medical staff, and basically they came to the conclusion that he's got to, be responsible for this decision. But if he's willing to do it, and Diego's one of these guys, when he first broke his nose, he was saying he didn't feel anything. I mean, it just exploded in his face, and he had he's like, it didn't really hurt. He goes, I saw the blood and felt it, but it wasn't like it hurt really bad. So I think his threshold for pain is extreme. And then as far as that moment, again, the peripheral, the way he plays, he uses his peripheral to look at feet that are stabbing at the ball. And then he gets the cue from where the feet are coming into his field of vision to then either drop a shoulder and go the other way or to, drag the ball across his body. So, Diego Luna thrives in really, really tight spaces because his footwork is so good and his technique is really good. So I think that play kind of encapsulates both his technical abilities, but also his bravery in playing in tight spaces and without a mask.
I went on vacation, took a little bit. We had an anniversary, so we went to Hawaii with another couple, and I was telling them 16 places, and they doubted me, Pablo. 16 places. I didn't even know that you had 16 places in your schnoz to be able to break it that many times. That doesn't make any sense, but yet it was true. How did that possibly happen?
That's a great question. I don't know. I haven't seen the X-rays or the MRI. I haven't seen any of that, but they basically said that the bones it was just like jelly, and they had to fit, and that's why they had to get in there and put the pieces that were available in the best places together and let the body do the rest. And that's why it was going to be 3 months. So it is kind of scary, given that the enormity of the break and how many pieces it broke into. But, I think usually when you have a physical dilemma like that, it doesn't give you confidence as a person, right? You're fearful. But Luna goes the other way with it, and he goes, no, I'm not scared of this, man. I'll just take this mask off because it's messing with my soccer game.
I had it described to me as go break an egg, tap it gently on the thing, and that's what happened. That's not very medical, but I guess it gives us an idea.
Huh.
When your face is scrambled.
That's basically what happened to him, yes. You're playing Dallas, and that means there's going to be a familiar face back. Anderson Julio returns. For years, you deployed him as a striker off the bench. You always said with his speed, late in the game when everyone's tired, no one can keep up with him when they're fresh. When they're tired, he's got 2 or 3 gears people don't have. And sure enough, he got them the win in the opener. He scored a goal late in the game when everybody was tired. It was classic him just running past everybody. So how do you prepare for him now that you've had to – maybe it helps your guys that they saw him in training sessions for years?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Ando's one of my favorite people, one of my favorite players I've been able to work with. He's just an amazing soul, comes in with a smile on his face, regardless of what his role is for the team on that day. And I'm just excited to see him again, and I think the guys are as well, and they've been in contact with him. But as far as defending him is obviously making sure that you're giving yourself enough space. If a midfielder has time and space on the ball, Ando's going to be running. So making sure that we're bumping bodies and, making as long as we can keep him in front of our back line, we'll be in a good way. But we've seen what he does when he gets behind back lines. He's been a killer here for many years, and, just really happy for him that now he's found a starting position. He's enjoying life and helping his team win.
Pablo, we appreciate a few minutes. Thanks for joining us. We will talk to you again. Good luck.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Pablo Mastroeni, RSL head coach, joining us right here on The Zone. Mark Durrant, BYU basketball radio analyst, coming up in 20 minutes. And John Linehan, assistant coach for BYU basketball, joins us at 9:30. We'll be talking NCAA tournament in the 9 o'clock hours. BYU gets ready to play Wisconsin. PK, good time slot. 5:45 on CBS. Everybody can watch it. That's 7:45 in the East, right in prime time when people are free. BYU can make a mark right here. I mean, they've already turned some heads, obviously, landing A.J. DeBanza, but a chance to double down on that.
It's really crazy when you think about it, and we can get to it. We got to go to break.
Yep.
Where this program was last year, so down with the loss, and where they are now.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
Hey, bro. You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
G-Bass! G-Bass!
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Woo! Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's time to give away 2 tickets to see the Utah Hockey Club host Tampa Bay tomorrow, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We got 2 tickets right now. Call 801-575-ZONE. Caller 12 will win. 801-575-ZONE. Good luck. Schedule getting more difficult for both the Jazz and the Utah Hockey Club. 3 of the next 4 for the Hockey Club against elite teams in the league. 2 of those with Tampa Bay. And the games are getting more difficult in the NCAA tournament because as you survive in advance, the best teams are left. BYU is a 1-point underdog against Wisconsin.
Nobody believes in us.
5:45 tomorrow.
Can't happen.
You don't need cable or satellite. It's over the air, old school style. CBS picked this game up because it's that good a game. It's that good a matchup.
Oh.
Of course they want it. Prime time in the East. The chance for BYU to make their mark with some recruit we've never heard of who lives in a different time zone but wants to come for the NIL money and the deep tournament runs and to play in front of 17,000 crazy fans.
Yeah, I don't think that BYU has to worry about that anymore. They turn away guys.
Are they in Norm Chow USC territory? We don't recruit, we evaluate.
This is a new era. And think about it. Last year, we had the bitter disappointment after a decent season in the first year in the Big 12. Then I had floated the idea of Mark Pope being a candidate. Sure enough, he leaves. It's like, oh, no. Oh, man. They hit the ground immediately running with Kevin Young. They identified Kevin Young, the president and the administration, and Tom Homo and Brian Santiago go down to Phoenix. He's their guy. I think that, and a lot of times, if you identify someone, man or woman, whatever job you're looking to fill, and you want someone really bad and you get that person, I don't have any statistics to back it up, but my ever-expanding gut tells me that is a good thing. And the Utes have it with Alex Jensen. You know, I'd heard right off the bat, it's his job to turn down. And obviously he took it.
Nothing will beat having Josh Grant on the air. First choice is Alex. But if he doesn't do it, what? He's like, the second choice is Alex, the third choice is Alex, the fourth choice is Alex.
Right.
Just keep going back to him. What will it take, Alex?
Yeah. And I guess somebody else put it on Twitter and had the story, but it was always going to be Alex as long as he wanted it. So we'll see how that develops. But clearly Kevin Young was the guy, and you can see why he was the guy. the administration, guys who've been in sports, played at high levels, and have the feel for it, knew that he was the guy. And it turns out, yeah, he was the guy. And things are going swimmingly now. We'll see what happens tomorrow afternoon. But really, things are going to go swimmingly even if they lose. If they win, it's not like it's a feather in the cap because you got a lot of work to do going forward. But it would even accentuate what we already know, that Kevin Young has got this program going in the right direction. There's no doubt about it. Even the most ardent negative person can't argue that this program is going in the right direction.
No, I think that's what yesterday's win was. I think that was the validation win for anyone who doubted it's going in the right in the right way. And he knows it. He knows the discussions are out there. It's why he was talking about how super excited he was to get the win, because it's more momentum and everything is pushing the right way right now. Now, momentum's elusive, as you point out, man. 12 months ago, they didn't have any of that. Between the loss of the game and then the loss of the coach, that was a big old 1-2 punch that, took the wind out of the sails. But it's all back now. And we always talk about it in sports. You're down. When you said this a long time ago. I think you said it when you were covering the Croton era with BYU. When you're down, it feels like you'll never get out of it. And when you're winning, it feels like you'll never stop winning. And the truth is, it's sports. You can do both those things. You're going to go up and you're going to go down.
Yeah.
I mean, we can look at some of the richest, most successful, most powerful programs, Alabama, Florida, Ohio State, Michigan. They had stretches where they're not in the elite. They're not one of the top 3 or 4 in the country. We can point 500 seasons out at all those schools. It happens to them.
I think in 2-3 years from now, this community is going to be on fire with, I think Alex will get it going. I hope he does. Kevin Young's already got it going, and I think the Jazz will get it going.
Basketball Central again, just like the good old days.
I think there's a distinct possibility, yes.
That would be awesome because that was really fun.
Sure.
It was the Utes won in the Final Four, and there's standing ovation at the Delta Center when they announced the score, and it's sold out because the Jazz are beating the Lakers and clinching the number 1 seed in the Western Conference on the exact same night, about an hour apart. It was awesome. Everybody was on fire.
Tater tots for everyone.
Exactly. I see what you did there. That was well done. You're the man. When we come back, Mark Durrant, who'll be right at the front of the tater tot line. BYU basketball radio analyst joins us, and John Linehan, BYU assistant coach at 9:30. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. A reminder, don't miss your chance to win big every week on The Zone. This week on Win Ticket Wednesday, you can win tickets to see The Offspring in the Supercharged Worldwide in 25 tour with special guest Jimmy Eat World and Newfound Glory September 6th at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. Listen to The Zone all day Wednesday for your chance to win. DJ and PK, we're joined once again by Mark Durrant, BYU basketball radio analyst. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, my friends. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys.
Especially now.
It is more pleasurable to talk to you under these circumstances, yes.
These are the best circumstances, not after a win, not after several wins, after an NCAA tournament win. They have been rare. They have been elusive. At what point did you believe they got this? It's going to be a W. I'm going on with DJ and PK tomorrow to talk about the good times.
It took a while. This team has proven to be really good at getting a big lead and then letting it slip away a little bit. So it was pretty late in that game until I felt pretty secure. But, there's been a lot of talk about this program and their lack of success in tournament play. And so I was, as a fan, I just wanted to see them kind of move past that and take a couple steps in the right direction. And I think they certainly did that yesterday.
Yeah, I watched the first 30 minutes, and then I was driving up to Utah practice for their spring football. And so I'm listening on the radio, and I thought you were cool. I thought your cohort was going to burst the vessel there. I mean, he just seemed like it was, oh, my gosh. And you had to keep reassuring him, no, 20-point leads. That's why you have them. So then when you give up an 8-2 run, oh, my gosh, it's an 8-2 run. that you could withstand it. So I thought you were the cool customer. He was obviously a little nervous there, but I get it. It's all what you want. It's fun. And to me, I thought there was a level of controlling the game, and I'm a big body language dude, and I thought the guys, right from the start, really felt like we've got this. And for me, and I don't have the fan investment, I understand, but I thought that there was like no feeling, oh my gosh, this thing is really slipping away. And how much do you think that the regular season, I mean, they had the Iowa State game, but yet they won that game despite blowing the lead, despite a staggering amount of turnovers, all that stuff that they've gone through from January and February. How much do you think that gives them the confidence to know we can do this?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, I joked about them, no lead being safe for them, but really it was pretty safe. I mean, in those games where they did have a lead, and maybe they gave up some of it, they ended up winning the game. You mentioned the Iowa State game; it's a good example, and so I think the thing about this team, and I don't know if it's Kevin Young coming in, but there seems to be a shift in mentality from, man, I hope we win this game, or right. I hope we don't throw it away, to, yeah, we're going to win, and maybe they'll make a little run, but we're fine.
Right.
And I think that's the sign of a good team. You can't go through the Big 12 the way they did and with the games they won without having a real belief in yourself and kind of a lack of fear. And so, I mean, I think that's kind of done in BYU in tournaments past. It's like, well, we're here, and I hope we can somehow find a way to win. But rather, this year they're here like, yeah, of course we're going to win this game. We're the sixth, and we're going to win, and we're going to go, and we're going to have compete against Wisconsin and give them all that they can have. And so I like that about this team. I like the mentality, and again, I hope that's something that is not just unique to this team, but will be a characteristic of the program going forward.
It's one of the benefits of getting multiple years in a row getting NCAA tournament bids, that the first time you do go there wide-eyed, but the second time we often see teams with a lot more confidence because they've been there and they know what to expect. And teams change so much now. So sometimes you're bringing guys who have it, or you have a core of guys who are coming back. They cashed in on that. Do you think they have the same attitude versus Wisconsin, or is it more we hope to compete as opposed to we know we can take these guys down?
Well, I think again, speaking for the fan, I think the big thing was to get that win. Mm-hmm. In the progression of the program going forward, I think it was important to make a step to get a win in the tournament. Certainly fans hope that they can win a couple more games, but I think the team absolutely believes they can beat Wisconsin Saturday. I don't think it's we came here what we did to do. Came here to do what we did. And we got one win. And I absolutely think, why would Wisconsin be any different than, playing Iowa State or someone like that in the Big 12? And you've competed against those teams, you beat those teams. And so absolutely, I think this team believes that that's a game they can win and that they can, move forward and go into next week. And so we'll see how it goes. Obviously, I watched the Wisconsin game. They're very solid. They kind of reminded me of a little bit better Utah team in that they're big and they take it hard to the basket, but I probably have a little bit more talent on the squad than Utah, obviously. But they're a similar type of team, and it's going to be a challenge. But I think this team certainly believes that they can beat Wisconsin.
What do you think's going through the mind of Egor Demin, a kid from Russia, a kid who's 19 and looks maybe 14? And, he comes out, he hits the threes early. It's like the audacity to even shoot them when you're shooting in the 20s. But it doesn't seem like it's affecting him one way or the other. And we saw that for the good. And I'm really intrigued about him and his mindset. because BYU really hasn't had a player like this since Chosich, probably 50 years ago, of a kid coming from the other side of the world and being as skilled and going through this. How do you think he's handling all this? Because just the way he goes about the game and his life has fascinated me.
He really is a fascinating guy, Pat. He, obviously we had high expectations for him coming in. You talk about lottery picks and all those kind of things, so you automatically think, well, this kid, he better be really good, and you kind of forget he is as young as he is, and you see that sometimes in some of his decision making out on the floor that he's still a pretty young kid, but then you see what all the hype was about too, and I think part of any player's psyche that is a good player is a belief in themselves, and even when he hasn't made a lot of threes this year, he just steps up and hits some threes. He has been shooting a lot better recently from three. It was pretty low bar to shoot better, but I liked his aggressiveness, not just the threes, but he's at his best when he turns that corner off the high screen and gets to the rim, and he's tall and crafty, and then he hit a little fadeaway jumper in the key that was something he hadn't done before. So clearly he can play, and I think he's gotten better, and he's getting more confident and making better decisions. He still makes me nervous when he's out there because he is a young kid and he'll turn the ball over, but I think you can see just his size and passing ability and ability to handle the basketball, why people are so excited about him and why NBA teams salivate over him a little bit. So, but the thing you always have to remind yourself is he is so young, and he's got a lot of room for improvement, and he is getting better. But I love his carefree, happy attitude. He's fun to talk to. He's really humble. And you got to remember, he's young, but what a life this kid has led.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
He grew up in Russia.
Yeah.
He left at 15 to go to Spain, didn't speak the language. He's playing, and then he comes to America, and it's a whole new situation, and he's absolutely beloved by the fans here. After the game, they just absolutely love him. And so, I mean, he's lived quite a life already at 19, but I think when you kind of go through that, it's hard to phase a kid like that because he's already been through a lot of stuff, and this is just another challenge that I'll face.
BYU basketball radio analyst Mark Durrant joining us. Mark, you're sitting there in the arena, and the Wisconsin game happens first. Now you're getting ready for your broadcast, and there's a pregame show and all that. How much of that game did you get to watch? What were your takeaways from Wisconsin? What should people expect in the second round?
Yeah, I watched that game, and this is not the Wisconsin team of old where they're, scoring 40, 50 points a game. This is a team that likes to put up a lot of points. So it'll be a different game than even what we saw against VCU. And they're big. They got a couple bigs that are super solid. I think they like to put it on the floor. Not a great three-point shooting team, at least from what I saw, but they like to put it on the floor, get to the rim, crash the boards, that type of thing. But they're a talented team, a lot more physical. I think they're just going to try and overpower you. And that worried me a lot more in years past. That was always kind of seemed to be an athleticism gap. And you face some of the teams like Wisconsin, and they just kind of bully you into a victory. But I think BYU's got the athletes now to match that, and guys like Kebaketa and Foussenyi. And I think I feel confident about that. I think it's going to be a fun game, a lot of points, probably be up in the 80s, 90s between these two teams. And but they do have some good size, and so that concerns me a little bit. But overall, I think it's a really good matchup. The teams are actually pretty similar.
Yeah, I watched that game myself, figuring I fully believed that BYU was going to win, so I was watching it from a different point of view and trying to get some insight into Wisconsin. And I did come away with the similarities between the two. It seems to me that they're very strong. The thing that does worry me a little bit is the height with Wisconsin, and knowing that Keita's got the height, but Foose is an undersized big man, and that you need his scoring. Now, if they're hitting the threes like they did against Iowa State last week, maybe not. But, as the stakes get higher, it becomes more difficult to just be free-flowing because the pressure is there. How do you think he'll be able to do, Foose, I'm speaking of, against guys that are so tall? Because I like it when the Cougars are able to play foosball.
Foose is really remarkable. I mean, he is so undersized. I'm not a huge guy. I'm 6'7", but I'm probably taller than Foose. But he's got an amazing ability. He's big and solid, and he's got a low center of gravity. And it's almost better when he plays against bigger guys because he just gets into their legs and just moves people. He's able to create space and then score over the top of those guys. Every time I think BYU is really going to have trouble with a team that has real size. For instance, VCU is one of the top shot blocking teams in the country, and Foose and Kaba handled them. They out-rebound VCU by 9, and they've done that all year. They've been a great rebounding team. And Kaba, as amazing as he is and as Adonis-like as he is, he's not particularly tall. I mean, Cannon Catchings is taller than Kaba, and so they've gone up against 7-footers every night in the Big 12, and yet somehow they seem to be a great rebounding team and seem to still be able to score in the paint. So as good as Wisconsin is inside and as big as they are, I don't expect that Foose or Cable is going to have any particular problem doing what they've been doing.
Saunders was 1 for 6 from 3. How much do you think it's just the law of averages here and he's due to have a good game because he's had so many good games? This is just how it goes. And how much do you think, man, there's very little time to prepare, and the one thing every coach does is figure out who's the leading scorer, where does he get his shots, take them away, which makes it hard.
Well, he's clearly had too many tater tots lately. It's kind of weighing him down. But listen, he has – I think his shooting has slumped a little bit in the last couple of weeks. And when I say slumped, it's gone from maybe 43% to 35%. But he's, obviously he's the number one guy on the scouting report, and teams are going to do whatever they can to slow him down and contest his shots. So it's natural that those numbers are going to come down a little bit. But, he's just such a solid player. He's not one-dimensional. Yeah, he can have a tough night from 3, but he goes and he's able to put his head down and get to the rim or to shoot a little floater, or, some of the times that they've spent so much attention on him that leaves guys like Trevin and Egor and others and Dawson Baker open for 3. So Richie's the consummate team player. He'll do what needs to be done. He'll make a bucket when a bucket needs to be made. But, he's getting a lot of attention on social media and from other teams. And when you're a star of a team, they're gonna, if I'm a coach, it's coaching malpractice if I don't do everything I can to stop the other team's best player. So I think he's just fine. But yeah, I mean, Richie's such a unique player. I mean, he's just what he's able to do. And his mentality and how hard he plays. And, he's obviously such a big part of what the success BYU's having. You need a guy that you can count on for 15 to 25 points a night. And he's as solid as they come to do that. And the interesting thing about this team is then you've got 9 or 10 other guys. You don't know where you're going to get points from. It could be any of those guys. Last night it was Foose and Egor. Another night it'll be Dawson and Dallin or Trevin. And that's really hard to guard. And I think Richie makes that possible because of his consistency. And so not a great shooting night, but still, he gets 16 points. He does a lot for you and helps you win the game.
Well, Mark, we hope they win, and you will continue next week. At my core, I'm a North Jersey boy, and that's where you'll be going next week. So I anticipate you being there, and let the people know that BYU out here in Utah, we got some North Jersey in us, brother.
You going to come out, Pat, man? I miss traveling on the road with you, brother.
I know. I would love to be there. I had some pains of not being there, particularly in that arena where we've been a couple of times for sure.
Well, have David shell out some of that James money and get you on a flight because like you said, I'm the cool one of the two, me and Rubel, and you're the cool one of the James and Kinahan. So we need to hang out.
Only one of us has been to Maui this month. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, and I did go to Maui, and my whole thing was, why BYU stacking days. When I was in Maui, I was stacking Rays.
I love it. You guys are the best. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Yeah. Mark Durrant, BYU basketball radio analyst, joining us here on The Zone. BYU assistant coach John Linehan joins us next. Stay with us.
You love your dog. You can't imagine life without him. So it's time to vote for Fido and the rest of his kind.
What up, dog?
It's the Man's Best Friend Bracket Challenge, where you can vote for the best dogs on the planet. Vote now at KSLSports.com. But take your time. We know these decisions can be rough. Really? Rough? Who wrote this?
You better watch yourself, big dog.
It's the Man's Best Friend Bracket Challenge. Going on at KSLSports.com. Powered by IFA. Stop by one of their stores today or visit them online at IFA.coop. IFA. Helping to grow the things you love.
DJ and PK. Brought to you in part by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary, 801-899-7600, or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. DJ and PK, we are one day into the NCAA tournament. The SEC is 4-3. I guess you have to go back and include Texas's loss, not yesterday, but nonetheless, the teams are 4-3. 3 of the 14 are already gone. They're playing again in about half the games today with 7 more SEC teams in action. 3-1 for the Big 12. How do you like that for day one? Kansas, which was fading at the end of the year, lost their first round game, but everybody else won.
Yeah, Kansas, man, a couple of bad years for them. I think it's stopped a streak of 17 years of advancing at least one game.
Baylor will tip things off the very first game of the day at 10:15. Baylor's playing Mississippi State, so that's Big 12 versus SEC right there. And Iowa State should beat Lipscomb at 11:30, 3 versus a 14. So things going well for the Big 12. DJ PK, we're joined right now by BYU assistant coach John Linehan. John, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. What is the euphoria? What is the feeling walking off the court after winning an NCAA tournament game like?
Oh, man, it was special. It was a great feeling, a lot of excitement. Our fans were awesome, and I felt just amazing. It was an amazing feeling for our players, man. Just the hard work that they put in every day, to have a win like that, to first make it to the tournament, then win, and want to continue to do well in the tournament. But it was an awesome feeling.
As you guys advance, the stakes get higher and higher, and I think the games obviously get more difficult. Now, you're a Philly guy, right? And that's where you are from your core. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a North Jersey guy, but I spent a lot of time across the water there, the bridge in South Jersey, West Deptford, Ocean City. So I got some Jersey toughness. And you're known as a Big East dude. And when I think of Big East basketball, I think of toughness. And that's what you had when you played with your stellar defense. As you go up against a Wisconsin team, how much of it is going to be from the defensive end and is a mindset that you guys need to dig in and really prepare to defend these guys?
It's a lot of the schemes and everything go out the window during this time, right? You can have the greatest plan, but it all comes down to the 50-50 battles, rebounding, getting stops in crucial moments. And also, you have to score the ball. But the toughness piece, the toughness mindset is crucial, and I thought, for the latter part of the conference season, I thought we displayed that toughness, man, and that focus on the defensive end, to come out and it's showing, game by game, man, it's been showing. So definitely proud of our guys in that from that standpoint. But to your point, the toughness piece is crucial.
Joining Kevin Young's staff this year and hearing you're going to be on the radio, I looked up your resume here. I don't see immediately how you crossed paths with him. What is your link? How did you end up on his staff at BYU?
Well, first off, it's an unbelievable honor. It's a great opportunity to be on his staff and be a part of BYU family. It's been unbelievable so far. But when I retired from playing professionally, I was a grad assistant at Temple University, and during that time, Kevin was he was an assistant with the Sixers, and they would come and practice in our gym, and that's when I was first introduced to him. And my head coach last year at St. Joe's, he and Kevin were really good friends, and Billy actually used to bring me on, and they used to put me in the pre-draft workouts. And I could still get up and down pretty well at that time. And so it's like 2 summers in a row, that I was working with the Sixers, and Kevin brought me down to do outside of the pre-draft camps, the kind of the tryout process when he was with the 87ers. So that's kind of how our relationship started.
As you guys win, then you immediately turn your attention to Wisconsin, and you scout them and everything and all that, and they're a very good team. I was impressed with them. I watched them because I figured you guys would win and try to get a good feel on them. And I think they've got a lot of different things going for them. They got several guys, big guys that shoot well over 40 or 50%. Their guards are in the high 40s as far as their shooting percentages. What do you see as some things that you need to do as a team to be able to beat these guys?
Yeah, they're a really good team. And it's going to be a tough game. But we have to, limit their guard play. They have 2 really good guards in Tanji and Blackwell. So we're going to have to, focus on, defending those guys and making every shot that they take contested and tough. We're going to have to, be able to get out to their bigs because their bigs can shoot it pretty well and they like to pick and pop. So we have to be ready to guard them and guard the ball. And we have to rebound, so it's a tough task, but our guys are ready. Like I said before, they've been locked in, they've been focused, and, their mindset is we're not here to win one game, so when you have that focus, that determination, you're going to figure it out.
I don't want to ask you who your favorite kid is. That's what I said before I ask you who your favorite kid is. But I want you to have a different perspective. Fans look at the defensive end of the court, and they notice the steals and the block shots, and that's playing good defense, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes people are taking reckless chances. Who in your mind are it doesn't have to be just one, but 1, 2, 3 guys on your team who you think defensively they really have it together, you can really trust them, and these are the guys in the biggest moments you turn to for a critical stop?
Yep. Well, I think our whole team is really buying into defense and really being focused on that end of the floor. So it's kind of hard to pick 3. But if I had to pick 3, obviously Mag, he's really came on, halfway through the season till now as being a guy that we put on their best player and a guy that we need to slow down. So he's a guy that's who's taken on that role and has done a great job so far. Next guy, I love Richie, right? Richie just, his motor, his competitive spirit, just his will to win. I love that about him. Dallin, he's another guy that, whatever we ask him to do, he's going to do. He can guard a 6'10" guy and Hawkins at Kansas City. At Kansas State rather, or the point guard. Mo, Richie, Dallin, Trey when he comes into the game, he gives us big moments defensively. But like I said, it's hard to pick just 3 because everybody locks in and make big plays in big times of the game. So, I really like our group defensively.
Coach, I'm glad you mentioned Dallin Hall because I think he defines what you're looking for in toughness. And also, if I look at somebody who's had to sacrifice his game for the sake of the team and winning, I'd put him right at the top. And you've been around him now this year. I know you guys are new. But what does it mean when you've got an upperclassman who's willing to sacrifice, come off the bench, and basically do whatever it takes to help you win in terms of setting an example for everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, Dallin he's been the heart of this group, believe it or not, just because of the sacrifices that he's made, the selflessness mindset that he has, the leave it all out on the floor. He's the most vocal leader that we have on our team. But he's our guy. When he plays well, he just gives us another layer that's so huge for the team. So his value to the team is monumental. He's an elite player.
In your career, you have been different places, small schools, big schools, the mid-major type school. I'm curious because you were at Georgia for a while in the SEC, and that league is doing great now, and you probably know a bunch of people there. I think BYU's got a lot of things going for it, but are there a couple things that SEC schools have that BYU needs to add? You can compare that because you were right in the middle of it. What do you think?
No, I think BYU is positioned to be amongst the best in the country, given the resources, the support, the coaching staff. I don't see a better university, a better program in the country than BYU, And like you said, I've been in multiple conferences with some really good coaching staffs and, really good leagues, but BYU ranks amongst the best of them all.
Demin comes out, hits a couple of threes. Speak to his play and how much do you think that it is improving so he's ready for these moments?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard on an 18, 19-year-old kid to come in and just live up to the expectations of that are placed on him, right? That's a ton of pressure. And everyone has to realize it's part of the process, and everybody's journey is different, but the kid works hard every single day. He's in the gym multiple hours by himself every single day, so it's just a matter of time for it to really start clicking in. But you can see game by game, he had an incredible start, then he got hurt, then he's been kind of up and down. But, because of his work ethic, his mindset, his skill set, it's going to eventually click for him. But, when he comes out and he plays as solid as he did last game, he's a special kid.
So you grew up in Philly. You went away to Providence, all the way to Providence, and if you weren't homesick, you probably had teammates who were, or maybe there's both. How much do you have to work with him on all the non-basketball stuff? Because he's so far from home. He's now living in his second foreign country. Or does all that stuff just come natural to him and you really can focus on basketball?
You know what? It all comes natural to him. I mean, he's been away from home for years now, having played, in Spain and other places, so he's kind of built up that I can survive by myself kind of mentality. He's a pro's pro from the standpoint of his routine every day. So I think he focuses more on that rather than, oh man, I miss. And I'm sure he misses mom and dad and his family, but he's locked in on a mission. And that's what's special about the kid. I mean, he's a very mature young man for his age.
Coach, if you go to the Final Four, I'll tell you what, man, you and I will go down the shore and I'll buy you a cheesesteak.
Man, listen, I'm waiting for that day, brother. But I'm going to show you some good spots down there when we get there.
Okay. Coach, we appreciate a few minutes. Thanks for taking the time out to join us and talk to all your fans. I know they appreciate it too.
Oh, man, I love it, man. Go Cougs. Continue to support. We're in for a special ride, man, but I appreciate it, guys.
John Linehan, BYU assistant basketball coach, joining us right here on The Zone. You just love getting Philly, Jersey, New York guys. There's just one way or another. I was in South Jersey.
You gotta, if you've been there, It creates a bond, especially out here in Utah.
No, that's the thing, is being so far away and finding some link.
Yeah.
But it's funny how important food is, which, you don't have to explain to listeners of this station, because I think like half of Scotty and Hans' show is food. It's just nonstop with the food. But it's true, and there's a power to it. I'll never forget when we had Rick Neuheisel on the show, who, coached at UCLA and Colorado and Washington. It was a TV big shot, and you're like, we got to break through. I got a local reference. I think he's going to like. He's going to warm up. We got to get this in real quick. And you hit him with Uncle Bill's in Manhattan Beach. And sure enough, he lit up. Pancakes and scrambled eggs, baby. That got him going. Uncle Bill's.
That is a famous breakfast place.
I had not heard of it or been there. And subsequently, I've been there 3 times. The only problem with that place is the crowds. That's the only thing I haven't figured out.
Particularly on the weekends. Yeah.
It's just getting loved to death, man. There's too many people going to Uncle Bill's.
And they don't seat you unless your entire party is there.
Right.
And I took some friends that we went to Hawaii with there. And who comes walking up to eat but Vince Vaughn?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And I'm used to seeing those types down there.
Mr. Movie Star.
And
because if you have movie star money living along the water, Manhattan Beach, Santa Monica, Marina Del Rey.
And living in that area.
Yeah.
When I did, it's
you're
not
close
that
to the airport if you got to get in and out.
Yeah. And then covering Laker games. I've been around a lot of movie types.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it might be. I had Sylvester Stallone touch my shoulder once and said, "Excuse me," as he was walking by at the L.A. Open once. But they were just enthralled with Vince Vaughn, and I didn't do anything about it. But sure enough, the gal, I'm going up to say hello. And the next thing you know, I kind of stood back. But the next thing you know, hey, get over here. And we're taking our picture with Vince Vaughn. It was super nice.
Food. It's quite the tie. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Your feedback's coming up next. Stay with us.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Question of the morning. What is your reaction to the Cougars finally winning an NCAA tournament game? They're in the round of 32 for the first time since Jimmer in 2011.
Money well spent.
Right? And that'll get a lot of people's back up, but this is just college sports going forward. It's football and basketball for sure, and then every school will take some of this money that they're going to get from the court settlement, decide, do we want to support a third or fourth team on campus? And depending on what school you're at, I read Penn State's going to put money into wrestling, right? Some of the Texas schools are really good at baseball and will probably put money into that. And
I think you should do it all across the board.
Well, but some won't, and some will say, hey, let's not do that. We want to put it here and have more and win.
Yeah, but if you're going to have an athletic program, you want all the teams to win because all those people are working just as hard as the other ones.
I get it, but it won't happen that way. And some schools will drop sports and really bring that. I mean, Stanford's got plenty of money, and they were trying to drop sports a few years ago. Not because they're out of money. Didn't want to do it.
Well, they're also trying to drop squash, but that's another story.
Yeah, I get it. They have a lot of sports.
Yes, they do.
11-2, highly ranked. I'm still like, wait, did that just really happen?
No.
Everybody's got a gift for this.
No, I knew it happened in February.
You could see that this
There's no
team.
question.
Well, and everybody will say it was, they were 6th last year and they played a team from the same league. Yeah, but go look at the way last year's team played in February, especially when they left the Marriott Center.
This team is much
better. They were vulnerable. This team left the Marriott Center and won games again and again.
They're more talented.
Yes. They're deeper.
And
if someone struggles,
and
they can go to somebody else.
The kids who returned are better.
They learned from it, right?
Saunders and Hall are better.
So improve.
Foussenyi probably the same.
Technically, talent-wise, plus you've got the experience, the poise, all the psychological pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And it adds up to a W.
Yeah, I had really – you never have no doubt. But aside from that, I had
You were right about the radio
belief.
broadcast with Mark, though, because I had occasion to be in my car for a little bit in the first half. And when it was going back and forth, it was, they were just trading the lead and tying the game up 15-all, 20-all. And Craig was pretty wired right then. I think that the fans, he really had the pulse of the fans as far as this has got to go right and it could go wrong. And I think Mark was more of, I see two teams here and one of them looks better to me.
Yes.
Which over time that plays out, whether it takes 10, 15, 25 minutes, whatever it is. It happened in the Wisconsin-Montana game. Montana was right there with 15 minutes to go. And then Wisconsin dropped a run on them and it was over.
Which is fairly common. But I thought BYU controlled the game. Yeah. I felt they played with confidence. Against Duquesne, they didn't. They were running uphill the entire time. And here, it just didn't seem that way to me. It seemed like we've got this. We're a really good team. You go win at Iowa State. You go win at Arizona. You beat Kansas by 20 or whatever it was. That just generates confidence. Pablo Mastroeni was talking about it, the confidence when he's teaching something and then it comes to pass, they do it. And they see the results, they have confidence. The belief is so important, and clearly the Cougars had it. I believe they'll have it here, but I'm 50-50. Whoever plays better will win against Wisconsin.
U-State Iceman, money, money, and more money. If your team wants to win in the big dance, you need money, NIL money. So the answer is money. That's my reaction, PK. You know best. Always follow the money.
Well, that's the reality, but we act like that's a negative now.
Yeah, you act like it's dirty, and it's not.
Not
it's
anymore.
Not. No, this is college basketball is Major League Baseball. Money matters. There is no salary cap. There will be teams out there who, like the Rays in Tampa Bay, have a lot of success with less money, and there will be teams that spend a lot of money on the wrong people and blow it and go out in the first round of the tournament, like Kansas. All the things we've seen about economics in baseball, I think we're going to see play out in college basketball.
I think we have been seeing it.
Probably. It's just be more pronounced now, more obvious. Because people can talk about who has NIL money, and before they couldn't talk about which team was paying $100,000 for that guy or $100,000 for this guy. But guys were getting $100,000. Yes.
It was being done.
It was happening.
Now it's above board. And Alford gave a great speech about it the other day. I don't know if you heard that.
I did not. What did he say?
Just about
this would be Steve Alford, the longtime coach, and
just talking about all the changes. And we may not like them, but here they are.
Yeah.
And you're either going to adapt or you're going to get pushed aside.
Have the money and spend it wisely.
Yeah.
All right, DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Jake and Ben are coming up next. Stay with us.